Right. The January 16th meeting of the Water Quality Management Committee will come to order. We'll do a mic check, I think, first. Has everybody got their microphone where it ought to be? Okay.
Do they work?
Well, do they work? I guess we'll hear if they don't
Yeah, okay.
from our man in the box back there.
Right, our speaker doesn't have a microphone.
Good point. Would you like to sit there?
She can use mine
Are we
too.
all right? Okay, would you like to sit there with a microphone and be heard? Or
She can take that
you
out.
can take this one right here and walk around with it.
I'll take this and walk around with it,
Yeah.
just because I'll be
Yes.
managing the PowerPoint
Right.
setup.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. All right, well, before you start, let me just introduce for our nationwide television audience. This is a presentation by our town financial director entitled Betterments 101. As we all know, the town is hoping to go into a construction of sewering in the lower Little Pond area. One of the elements of that is having the people who are benefited pay a portion of it. And how big that portion is and how it's allocated is all very complicated stuff, and this committee has been requested by the Board of Selectmen to take a crack at this and to come back to the board with some recommendations or information and recommendations. So we're very pleased tonight to have the town financial director, Jennifer Petit here, who is good at this. She did it in the town of Chatham when they did a sewering project, so she's good at it and she's fresh at it, and she's been successful at it. So without further ado, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me this evening. The main purpose of the presentation really is to just give a big picture overview of the capital facility plan. I presented this to the Board of Selectmen a couple weeks ago right after the budget, because we are going into town meeting in April and we'll be looking at two articles for water, the water treatment facility, and wastewater, as you know, been talking about that. And so we wanted to look at what do we know right now. When we look at a long-term financial plan, particularly with capital projects, we want to see what do we know right now, and let's try to plan out a little bit some of the expenditures. And particularly with this project, we are looking at betterments. So this really is a big picture overview of the betterments, just to give you an idea of how it would fit into the capital facility plan. And the Board of Selectmen did vote last Monday to refer this issue to the Water Quality Management Committee to come back to the board in mid-February with a recommendation on betterments. Now, we just had our CWMP approved, which was great. And so now we're looking at finishing the design and going in for construction. So we haven't even really finished the full design. So when the town votes betterments, we're really voting on, you know, the planning tool, if you will, to give us an idea, how do we move forward with capital facilities? And that's really where I came into play, is, you know, I will assist the committee in any way that it needs in order to come up with the information to make a really good recommendation to bring to town meeting on betterments. I'm here to assist in that respect, but also I'm also here to assist the town once we know what the betterments are, to really look at our capital facilities and how do we incorporate them into the debt drop-off. And so, as you know, the Board of Selectmen has adopted a policy, somewhat maybe informal, but we're all looking at, as you look at your excluded debt drop-off, we want to incorporate new debt in order to keep that levy steady, and I have graphs here to show you this evening. So that's really the goal of the presentation, is just to show everyone what we're looking at with different sorts of betterments, and to refer this issue to the committee to come back to the Selectmen with the recommendation. Bear with me here. I was wondering if maybe somebody could help me and try to move the slides along, and maybe I can talk. It might be a little bit easier if somebody's familiar with PowerPoint. For some reason, it's not moving forward.
Sure.
the next one?
No, that's those are all the, just the next,
So you've got this,
set up as a slideshow.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, so
okay,
that's-
all right,
that's-
okay. If you don't, do you mind
Not at
walking
all.
me through this?
No, not at all, I'm just trying to get it started.
Okay.
Can I just escape?
Sure,
for a second?
absolutely. Just bear with us for a second so we
Let me
can
just
show
escape,
the,
and then I'm just gonna show this right
presentation.
from the beginning. Alright. That is bizarre.
Can't just hit the arrow?
Nope. One would wanna be able to do that.
Or just hit the slide on the left.
I think we do it this
Yeah.
way.
Good, there,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Try
Yeah.
that.
Way of doing it.
Good
I
idea.
might have to do it that way.
Yeah, well, of course, right, but I just had to escape out of the presentation. So I'm gonna do it this way?
Okay, let's do it this way. Thank you very much. So the financial policy is to appropriate your excluded debt drop-off to stabilize the tax levy. Right now, our excluded debt, what we're using are figures from 2013, and it's around 10.3 million. So every year, our debt drops off as we pay off the principal, so the debt declines. And so we want to incorporate new debt into that debt drop-off. And so we're not spiking the tax levy. We're not, when we set the tax rate, the taxes don't go way up and then all of a sudden come way down. We want to have some sort of fiscal policy to stabilize the levy. And that's what we're looking at doing with the water and the wastewater at this time. The capital facilities plan, we do look for probably anything over $1 million that we would incorporate into this plan, because we would borrow. And there might be some years where we have a little bit of a debt drop-off, and we might incorporate a capital exclusion and raise that amount in 1 year. And this really is a phased-in approach. It really is a plan. I'm going to show you when I get to the slides. It goes out to 2040. And so this is, again, this is what we know now, but we know that we always have to adjust with the, adjust to the plan. And it incorporates long-term borrowing as well. Next slide, please.
Do you want a chair, Sia?
Thank you.
There's one right there.
You're more comfortable, I'll take a chair. Thank you.
You can actually turn the computer around.
Thank you, Sia.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Ron.
Very high tech.
Working on it.
And what I've taken is the
I'm maxed out at the moment.
the existing debt and the debt drop-off. Now, right now, we went to town meeting and a ballot vote last year for $9 million for approved borrowing, which was the water, and this was the design for the water, the wastewater collection, wastewater treatment facility upgrades, and the Bournes Pond design. And then I've incorporated estimated $5 million senior center design and construction. Since the Council on Aging did go to the Board of Selectmen with the feasibility study, and they're looking at that, we wanted to put some sort of number. So when people look at this plan, because it really is a town plan, they can see the overall picture, but it really does, a lot of it focus on, the water and the wastewater. Next slide, please. And this is what we've been looking at, construction costs, the $39 million for Little Pond wastewater treatment improvements. So these are estimates at this point. Bournes Pond inlet widening, the water treatment facility, and those are the total estimated construction costs. So I did incorporate that into the plan. Next slide, please. Okay,
one
go
thing.
ahead.
On these, was there something also with odor control or something like that in one of the earlier plans for the, or is that in the wastewater?
It's probably treatment facility improvements, isn't it in there?
I think it's in the wastewater treatment improvements cluster. The odor control had to do with the vent on the service road,
Yeah.
and it was design money for it.
Thank you. When I put the plan together, I used 20-year borrowing terms right now. We will be applying to the Mass Water Pollution Abatement Trust, and so we're assuming for this plan, 0% for the collection system, the wastewater treatment facility expansion, and the Bournes Pond inlet widening. And we're looking at 2%, so I incorporated 2% interest for the water treatment facility. Next slide, thanks. So when we look at the cost, the construction cost and the design. We've appropriated money for design, so now we'll be looking for construction money. We wanted to look at betterments. So I came up with 3 different scenarios, the 25, 50, and 70. The reason why I didn't go to 75 and I used 70 was because they did incorporate a betterment for the new Silver Beach, and it was 70%. So we wanted to try to compare apples to apples. It includes the betterment portion of this. When I applied the betterment percentage, I included the $4.5 million in design voted at the April town meeting, and it includes the $39.5 million in estimated construction costs. Now, these are just estimates, and I know the estimates change here and there, and there's a couple of other things, but for presentation purposes, these are the numbers in the presentation that I gave to the Board of Selectmen.
So Jennifer, is that the percentages the town share?
No,
No,
The-
Right. Betterment share.
this is the homeowners.
Okay.
right. And then,
Includes 1 million in water rates, what is that?
right, yep, thank you. And so the other part of this facility plan is the water treatment facility. Now, right now, the water department revenues go into the general fund, and the expenses are out of the general fund as well. But when you look at water expenses against water rates, you're bringing in a lot more in water rates than you are in expenses, probably to the tune of somewhere around $1 million. And we have a plan, and every year you'll see in the budget, expending more for the water department in order to take care of that discrepancy. And you'll see an article at town meeting to steward some of that free cash that we generate from the water rates into a stabilization fund, so we can eventually have a water enterprise fund. So it will be a separate business entity, and that's the goal for the water department. And the reason why I'm talking about this is that if you're looking at a $40 million treatment plant, you know, the principal and interest is around $2 million. So you figured $1 million, you know, we're already taken care of. So maybe, you know, they will be looking at increasing the water rate. So I used $1 million in water rate revenue in order to reduce the construction cost, because they will be looking at the water rates on their project as well.
Isn't that a lot of that million in maintenance that we don't do and should do? For example, the fire hydrants that you can see rusting all over town.
I can't really speak to the operation of the water department. I'm talking, you know, really about the finances.
Well, it's the $1 million, isn't it?
So, you know, for the purposes of this presentation, you know, we are using $1 million in water rates. And so this would be with the 25% betterment. The homeowners would pay 25%. And as you can see right here, I don't know if I have I like using that red dot, but I don't have it. Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. Our existing debt is in the white right here. So you can see how that debt has dropped off. In 2013, it was 10 million. In 2014, it drops off to 8. Now that green right there is the design for the water and the wastewater and what we'll be paying off this year. We paid off 1.7 million. So if you remember, when we went to town meeting in April for the budget, we had 1.7 million that we'll be paying off. Next year, the proposal is 2.4 million. And that's what keeps that levy steady. You can see it go right across. Now, when you look at 2020 and 2020, or 2019 and 2021, that's when some of the betterment revenue will come into play. Another thing that I want to address about this plan is, you know, we have to, the method of putting something like this together is I want to be consistent with a lot of unknowns. And a lot of unknowns is that we haven't started construction yet. And so when you start construction, we only borrow what we need at the time. But for presentation purposes, you know, I'll borrow 20 million and then I'll bond 20 million and then 2 years later bond another 20 million. So I'm not bonding. You don't see, you know, as we go into town meeting with probably $89 million appropriation, I'm not going to borrow 89 million and then, you know, bond it right away. That's not how it works. We really look at the cash flow. And so here in 2019 and 2020, you'll see a little bit of a dip because I haven't bonded the second part of the collection system, but we are taking in some of the betterments. Now, again, this is the plan and it needs to be flexible, so you do see that drop off. There are ways that we can kind of fill in that gap, but I needed to show the betterment revenue. And as you can see with the 25% betterment, you'll see a spike in 2021. Now, 2021 is really when all the principal and interest would be bonded and you're paying it out in your debt service. Next slide, please.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What's the y-axis of this graph? This is the amount of money borrowed, or this is the amount of income from betterment?
That is the amount of money that we're paying in principal and interest.
It's a budget.
Yeah, so let me try to explain this a little bit, and sometimes it's easier to explain in the budget process. We always want to pay around $10 million a year in excluded debt, in principal and interest, or paying off short term in order to keep that levy up. We bill the taxpayers that every year. So that's why we keep that levy up. So we're not billing them 15 million and we're not billing them 6 and then 8 million the next year. It's a planning tool. So we'll always want to pay that. So when I put a plan like this together, I look at, okay, we're going to borrow 20 million, we'll do half of the construction, and then we'll pay the principal and interest 2 years later. Meanwhile, I have a component in there or an amount of money in there for short-term interest. So there's a lot that goes into this plan. However, that's what we will be paying every year, the town will be paying in debt service. And that's what the graph depicts. Now 50% betterments, we're bringing in 50%, not 25. And now you can see the graph is starting to steady off. When you start at the 10 million, it goes over, and then when you hit 2021, it's right around that 10 million.
It's really hard to see.
It is hard, and I did give members of the committee a copy of the colored graph so you could see it a little bit better.
Do you have any extras of those for anyone else in the room?
I do. I can give out. I made 10 copies, and I do have some extras, and I'll
Okay.
be more than happy to. I have them right here. So if somebody else wants to take, if you want to pass those out for me, that would be great. Thank you.
It looks it looks almost identical. The numbers on the left have been skewed, which makes it worse, because, but it still starts just slightly above 10 million in both cases.
Right. Well, that's the plan. I mean, when I know that we're spending 10 million, that tells me when you look at the short-term interest,
Looks okay to me.
that's what we're paying in interest. And then if you look at the green, the design of water and wastewater, that's what we're going to be paying off in short-term debt. So the plan is put together in a way to keep that $10 million steady. The reason why it dips is because I don't want to put into the plan that we would bond 20 million of the collection system earlier than we really would.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
I mean, I understand that you're replacing the old debt, the white, as it goes down. You're
That's
filling in
correct.
with new debt of various colors for different projects. But it's hard to see much difference between the 25% graph and the 50%.
Well, if you look at the numbers on the top, want to go back to the 25% for a second? You don't mind?
Oh, okay.
Okay, do you see that goes up to 12 million
Yeah.
when you look at the axis, and then when you go to the 50%, the top is 11 million. So if you're just looking at the lines, you have to look at the actual cap of the amount of money.
Another way of saying where the difference is, if you look at the 3 graphs, she hasn't shown the 70% yet, and you look at the brown portion, that's collection system, you'll see that from the 25%,
Appropriate color.
to the 70%, that brown bar portion becomes less and less.
Except this collection system is only shown on the 25%.
No,
That's-
no, I'm sorry, you're right, on the 50 it's called wastewater expansion, and 70 it's called wastewater expansion.
Could I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Would another way of saying this be that as the wastewater expansion or collection system goes down, that's because people who are paying the betterments are paying that portion and not the taxpayers?
Exactly.
That's the way
Yeah.
to say it.
I tried to, if some of the
But the debt, I'm very naive about this, but it seems to me, okay, your debt's going, you're down, the old debt, you're retiring, so you have new debt. And there's 2 ways of paying that new debt, just like you can pay the old debt, either with betterments or with taxes. That's an independent dimension, right? You want to borrow precisely enough to keep the borrowed amount constant.
what you
Oh, no, I see
want to
what
pay off.
If you have more betterments, you can,
And the betterments are revenue. And so when you look at the numbers behind these graphs, there's a lot of numbers. And so you're incorporating the betterment revenue to reduce the debt. Because when the homeowners pay a betterment, it really is, they're paying it over a number of years, and usually it's in line with what the borrowing is. So that portion, they're paying that portion of the debt. Although and so we have to, apply revenue to decrease what we're actually paying. Please, thank you. And so this would be the 70%. And again, you can see the same amount from 2014 to 2018. It's steady, and then you'll see it even drop off more with betterment revenue. And then you see in 2022, you can see it's not as high. It continuously goes down. And so that's what it would look like with 70% betterments.
There's no differentiation for someone who has a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom is gonna be paying the same thing as somebody who has a 6-bedroom house with 5 bathrooms.
Well, the way that I put this presentation together, because again, it's really a big picture and we still haven't even finished the design. And so you want people to get an idea of what it would look like, knowing that plans change. So what you would do is you take the total amount of estimated construction costs and you divide it by the number of parcels. But we haven't even got to that point yet. We're not even there. So for this presentation, I take the amount of construction costs and then I apply 25% revenue to the construction and design, 50% and 70%. So that's what you see in the presentation. But as you move forward and your costs become more defined, then you look at the number of parcels and then you come up with a way of actually apportioning the betterment. Right now, for the presentation purposes and for town meeting, it's the percentage of betterments that we'll be looking at.
If I can, Jennifer, he's absolutely right that each individual home on its lot would pay the same betterment, whether it has more bedrooms or less bedrooms. On the operating costs, on the other hand, the 6-bedroom house would use a lot more water, and their bill for the monthly payment for the operating would be much larger than the 1 or 2-bedroom house. Oh, Hilda.
You're saying a larger house will pay more because it will use more water. Those things are not necessarily, there are lots of big houses that only use 2 months out of the year, 2 weeks I know of some of them. And so they pay very little in water costs. So they will contribute very little to this sewer cost.
Is it contributing to
Even though
betterment?
Toward the betterment, or there's 2 pieces here, betterment and operating. And betterment will be the same. Right. If they only used it 2 weeks a year, they would pay less.
You're talking about the people with the lowest incomes and the lowest ability to pay, paying perhaps 25% of the value of their home, while you have other people on the other end of the scale who may pay as little as 5% of the value of their home. It seems a bit inequitable. But I'm just saying.
No, this is why the selectmen sent this issue to this committee.
Can I ask a really basic question?
Let us take the heat.
About the bonds. As seen by the town, does a bond look to the town like a mortgage? In other words, it's a constant payment, but the amount of principal that you're paying per year is going up and the amount of interest you're paying is going down?
No. Usually when you structure a bond that way, as a mortgage payment, over the life of it, you end up paying more. Really what you're doing here is you're paying the same amount of principal every year, and then the interest declines as you calculate the interest on the principal that you're paying.
Okay, so is that the primary reason why the white is going down?
That is yes, absolutely.
Or is it going down just because it's like a round and singing ending? It started at different times.
Well, really the answer to the question is both. There are projects that will be fully paid off, and so then all of a sudden it's not on the white graph. But it does decline because, take for instance, say you're paying $1 million, say you're paying $100,000 in principal a year. And the total note's $1 million. So the first year, the million, you have $1 million maybe times 4%, that will be your interest, and you pay $100,000. Then the next year, it's $900,000 times 4%, then $800,000 times 4%, and so it declines over time.
So most of this decline in the white is because you're paying less interest,
That's true,
not
yes.
because individual issues are ending.
Well, it's both. I mean,
But which is
we
it
have
more-
a,
Is it half and half?
well, I'd have to look at the debt schedule. It's actually part of the budget. But not a lot of projects, because when you bond a project, it's usually over 20 years. So you're not bonding every year for a 20-year project, so you don't have projects dropping off every year. But you do have larger projects where it would drop off. The ratio, I'm not sure, but the main reason it declines is because of the less interest.
But then, how do you reconcile that with the light blue, the water treatment, that looks like it's almost constant? I mean, compared to how the white's dropping off, from 2021 to 2038.
Can you hold this for a second?
And so is the pink and the black outline, and all of those are practically constant. Any-
Yeah, that blue.
Take a look.
It declines. This isn't.
No,
as
but
big as
nothing
this.
like the decline in the white. The white is coming down
But
by a
that's-
factor of 10 or
But
more.
that's your existing debt. That's
It's
just
all
the
the
way
whole
the
town.
that's the way the debt structure is. That's your existing debt.
Right.
That's a lot of that
But each
light
of these
blue.
other debts don't appear
That-
to be coming down at
okay.
all. They're just riding on top of the white.
They're really not. Let me try to explain that. The colors are one project, just one project with it declining over time. The white is maybe 30 projects or 40 projects.
So it's not the interest, it's that their projects are
Well,
ending.
it's both.
Okay.
But it's the interest on a bunch of projects, not just one.
I mean, you
But
might
for
have.
a given project, there's practically no change.
Well, there is
You
a
pick-
change.
pick-
It does decline,
It's hard to see.
but it's only for
Hard-
one
very hard
project.
to see over-
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Before we leave this, yeah.
So,
Um,
I have anything. So in the last year of the project, in 2038, that blue section, most of the payment there is principal. Almost all of it is principal.
That's correct.
And it's principal and interest at the beginning.
That's correct.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, just
Then
one,
it is like a mortgage.
this is,
No, because she, as she just said, it's paying down the same amount of principal every year, whereas a mortgage, you pay down,
Equal payment.
less
Interest
principal at the
early.
beginning and more
It's
principal
because
at
the
the end.
interest is so low.
Yeah, well.
The interest is fairly low also.
And well, you bring up a good point. The interest is low, and so you will see a less of a decline because the interest is low. That light blue, and let me just, because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but let me just elaborate a little bit. That light blue is with the 2% MWPAT. The water collection, that's all 0%. So you're right, those graphs amount will stay the same because you're not paying interest and you're paying the same amount of principal over every year. So you do bring up a good point, needed to think about it for a minute. But with the other parts of the project, it's with 0%, you're just paying the same amount of principal every year. Very low percentage for the water treatment, 2%, so you would see a less of a decline for one project, that's correct.
I just wonder, on the, just to shift from the wastewater expansion to move to the Bournes Pond inlet widening. And you've got basically, this is one, the view of what the debt and the interest, I mean, the principal and the interest would be paid over time. But there's no betterment associated with that.
That's correct. And I didn't apply a betterment to that. You might see it in the same graph, only because I didn't want to do a lot of different colors. And it's one town meeting warrant article with one borrowing authorization, so it's one color on the graph. But I only applied the betterments to the collection system
Right.
only.
So in your experience, though, one of the ideas, the reason we're doing this, right, is to reduce the amount of sewering in that area. So that means that some houses will be free of the sewer because the town is paying off 100% of the inlet widening project.
Okay.
So those homes would be getting essentially a relative free ride compared to others in that system. It's just a,
It's not free, Vera Vista's paying for it.
no,
In this
No.
scheme,
Ameris won't pay for for Bourne's inlet widening. That would go totally on the tax base.
That's
Well,
correct.
you're right. We can't put a betterment on the people who may be benefiting from the Boynes Pond opening because we can't identify exactly who they are and limit it just to them.
I know,
That's,
Mhm.
it's just the law of the land.
Another one of those,
It is
Right.
what it
depends
is.
where you are. If you're in the flood zone or you're not.
How many homes are in the Little Pond Sewer area? I mean, that's really what we're,
1,420, 1,430.
1,420
20 parcels,
parcels.
parcels.
But
That's true.
each parcel is,
Not all built on, 90% built on.
or it's
but-
based on the valuation with a house on it.
No, ultimately, when we come to the betterment, it will be done on the basis of sewer equivalent units. So it's how much water use you have. When you think about the Little Pond sewer service area, it includes some motels, some restaurants. They all use water at a much greater rate than a house does. So we have a basic sewer equivalent unit, which is 150 gallons per day, that's per household. But there will be a restaurant that might be 5 sewer equivalent units. If you have a large motel, it might be 15 or 20 sewer equivalent units. So ultimately, the total cost of the collection system divided by, and the working number, and it's in the CWMP, is 1,700 units.
Right.
1,400 parcels, 1,700 units. Those are round numbers, but they're reasonably good numbers.
So what is the total principal we're dividing that into?
That is going to be the subject of the part of the discussion that we have over the next several weeks. We need
Okay.
to decide what
Right.
really constitutes the costs as estimates, best estimates we have now, for the sewer collection system. What goes into that?
That seems to be, me to be the crucial question.
No question.
I mean,
Of
and
course,
No question.
this is
absolutely.
all interesting. but
Yes,
yeah,
that's
it's-
right. And so that's going to be, the selectmen have given us that charge.
Right.
Keep going.
Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. So the betterment process, really, the Water Quality Management Committee will come back to the Board of Selectmen with a recommendation. The selectmen will vote the percentage. Now, much later on in the project, there'll be a betterment hearing when construction is complete. So we're gonna have a lot of time from now until the next step. And then we'll apportion the actual costs over a number of parcels.
Just a
Like,
quick,
you might mention that town meeting votes it on the selectmen's recommendation.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes, it does go to town meeting in April. There is an article on the warrant to vote a betterment
And what
percentage.
happens at the hearing?
And so when the construction is almost complete, a number of years down the road, we'll have defined construction costs. And then we move forward with notifying homeowners. There's a whole process that will go through that. It has to be recorded with the Registry of Deeds. And then we have a betterment hearing and the homeowners come in and then we apportion the betterments over the number
No,
of
I'm
parcels.
focusing on the hearing itself. I mean, that implies something judicial, some adversarial process,
Well, it's not an
and some third party makes a decision.
no, really, when you vote the percentage, when, that you apply a betterment, which we will do now, and it will probably be 2 or 3 years down the road when they have the hearing, when the construction is near completion, because when it's near completion, then you want to assess the betterments. And then you would have a hearing with the
Yeah,
Board of
it's 3
Selectmen.
years out.
Yeah.
Mr. Finneran.
I'm sorry, but can you just go back to the last bar graph there? The one before this, the 70%. I'd just like to point out that the white part of it is our famous window of opportunity, and this closes that window for any other purpose. So the prolific spenders we have in this town, when they want something else, they're gonna have to go to the taxpayer, so this kind of lulls you into thinking that your taxes are gonna go down and stay even, but the reality is that's not true at all, because there are many other projects that will come up, and somebody's gonna have to pay for them.
That's the area in the dark blue above the graph.
Yeah.
If you start in the upper left-hand corner and draw a line straight across, then you can fill in that space with other projects.
This right here is the window of opportunity.
Right.
It's the drop.
Well, Mr. Finneran is right in that anyone who wants additional projects that would create more debt, would have to go to the voters and ask them to raise the tax rate to do that. But for these projects, she's figured out a way to not have to go to the taxpayers
But
and
there
ask.
will be other projects, that's
No
just
qu-
what I'm saying. It's
No,
inevitable.
no question.
And
Right.
then, I mean, you know, something has to be done, but the reality is, with this method, the way it's done, as I mentioned, like the two-bedroom house with one bath, paying as much, I mean, the people that can afford it the least will actually be paying, in essence, the most, as in a proportion of their income.
We're working on that. That's why they sent it here.
Just a quick, of the three scenarios you have, are they all okay? Or is it like the 25% looks like we kind of blip up over that plateau? And I'm just wondering if there's, I mean, will we have to get an override then or something? Or?
Well, no matter what you vote, you'll end up going to the ballot box for a debt exclusion, not an
Right.
override, but a debt
Right.
exclusion. This just shows you what would be billing the taxpayers in these different scenarios. It does go over that 10 million a little bit in 2022 with this plan.
Right.
I think I'm slowly starting to understand these three graphs. And correct me if I'm wrong,
You probably do.
they're the
anyway,
same except for the black.
Black.
They're the same except for the
Brown.
amount of revenue I am incorporating into the construction of the water,
Of the, what you
of the
call
collection system.
Yeah,
of
the-
the
Exactly,
The brown,
wastewater extraction,
brown.
right.
whatever.
The
Black,
dark,
the very dark,
the dark bar,
yeah.
The brown.
that's.
And it actually doesn't make that much difference in the bigger scheme.
Appropriately colored.
That's to the person who's paying.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right, but for the town, on this scale, it doesn't look that like a big difference.
So, if I understand correctly, then the window of opportunity, we fill the window of opportunity until about 2018, and then the small window of opportunity opens up in 2018 and then large window of opportunity begins to open up after that time. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
That was the original plan. Yes.
Maybe they'll do Hatchville Road.
I'll be excluded anyway.
Knock on wood.
I'll be dead.
If our special act passes.
Okay, are we done with the
Yes.
slides?
Okay, yeah, I'm just wrapping it up, so the next one. So I went over the betterment process, and then the last slide. Really, the town manager recommended that the Board of Selectmen refer the matter to the Water Quality Management Committee and make a recommendation. And then what I'll do, just to give you the big picture, is, you know, once we know where we're going with this, then I'll incorporate all the other projects and try to, you know, put them in within that window, other than, you know, in addition to these two major projects that we've been talking about tonight.
Just one other, it's sort of a legal detail in terms of the state laws. If we have an aging population here, a lot of people are over 65, and they can defer paying the betterment. And if they do, is that kind of factored in? Because if we have people on fixed incomes in this area, they can legally say, look, I'm not going to pay it now. They defer it, they have to pay 8% interest, or whatever interest the town votes to be applied to that. That would affect this model if people decide, look, I'm just gonna defer it and let my kids take care of it or something, you know, at the end of the road.
I don't think it would affect the model too much without getting into the specific law, because I don't know the actual specifics, but I know that you have to qualify to defer. You can't just
It is,
defer
it's-
because you don't want to pay it. You have to actually qualify for that.
You have to be 65 and a gross income or net, whatever it is, of $20,000 a year. If you have that, you can apply for
And
that.
I don't know.
Deferred and have high interest, so you pay altogether more.
Well, somebody does.
Well,
After you're
that's where the lien,
That keeps kind of counting.
a lien is placed on the property.
There's a
Okay.
lien anyway. It's a betterment is a lien.
Well,
Yeah.
then the
Right.
town just comes in and sells the house when the person
Right.
passes
Or-
away.
Or whoever inherits it
Right,
can pay it
the
off
estate has it.
with interest.
Still have to come up with the money in the interim, the town will.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
Ron's point is not whether it's a hardship or not to the people. not a hardship in the sense that they don't have to do it. He's saying, if they choose to do it, if a big number of people. choose
Right,
to
what
do it,
happens to the,
What happens to the town?
right.
Right, your revenue stream is smaller than you thought.
Smaller than you thought.
It is, you know, you're looking at how many parcels, I mean, I'm not really, the demographic in that area, I can't imagine it affecting this $90 million project to really see those lines change this way.
can
I don't
give you an
envision
example.
that, but I know that there'll be some,
Okay,
you know,
just-
circumstances. But I think that's actually, you know, something to absolutely look at as we move forward with, you know, portioning.
Well, I can give you an example. We own a house on Oak Street, and conservatively, 50% of the people on Oak Street fall within that range. I mean, it's, 50% of the people are easily senior citizens, and a lot of the houses are small, and it might be more than you think.
Well, if they want to defer, that's terrific. You
But
know,
where does the cash come from in the interim?
Well, at the end of the 20 years, the
I mean,
the
we
town
still
will
have
get
to
its
make a
money.
payment every year, don't we?
If they, you know, if the town gets its money later or sooner, out of 1,400 parcels, the chances of it making a big difference is not that big.
Yeah, and I don't, and then if you're talking, I mean, not to, but if you're talking about a lot of people, you know, then some of those people will have to pay off because of circumstances. You know, so you'll have a flow of people paying off at certain times.
Right. And the only thing that affects the town is that the total debt doesn't drop as fast as you thought it was going to.
Right.
So, you know, life goes on.
Right.
It's not like a mortgage, it's not a set amount, they have to come up with every month.
And I think that Patricia Faguli said that
Yeah.
some people will come in and pay the whole thing off right away.
Yeah, a lot of
Right.
people do that.
Yeah.
Right.
They
A lot
just
of
don't wanna,
people.
They don't wanna leave
they
it.
don't wanna leave it on the.
Right.
Is what Mark just said correct? That the town can choose to arbitrarily pay less on its debt in a given year?
No.
We wish.
So
Where's the money?
it's probably insignificant because of the statistic, but in principle, it could be a cash flow problem.
Half of the people were in that category.
If,
Would
if,
be a
if
category.
90% of the people turned out to be old, just to make a ridiculous but theoretically possible scenario, and they all chose to defer, and they all lived a long time, the town would have a cash flow experience that was not what it expected.
Not necessarily, it wouldn't. The way that it will work is that you've authorized the debt, okay? So if we go into town meeting, you're authorizing the gross amount of the debt. And when you budget for it under Mass General Law, you're budgeting for the full principal and interest. Where it's a general obligation bond, the town has to pay the full principal and interest. And we take in the revenue, and then we reduce that from the revenue side, from betterments. Now, say that revenue is less. We have it in the budget, it will be going forward, but that's what we will look at when we do our projections, if that's the case, which we will know when we start to apportion the betterments, we will know right away. But then again, as Tricia said, and this does happen a lot of people come in and will pay it off right away. So then we have to find a mechanism to reserve that money, to make sure that we're putting that money in to reduce that portion of the debt every year. So there are safeguards in place so we won't run into a cash flow problem. A cash flow problem happens when you're not planning and projecting properly. And so we will project the betterments.
So you take care of it in the annual budget process.
Yes, we do.
So if they didn't, at first, everybody was paying nicely, and you got used to that budget, and then all of a sudden, people started deferring, you'd have an unpleasant budget experience that year.
If it was a lot of people, but then again, a lot of people will be paying off, so it's going to be, you know, again, a puzzle that you will have to put together.
Just as in
Yeah,
terms
let's
of,
get Wayne in here.
If I understand correctly, the way it works, if you defer and you die, the whole thing has to be paid off at once.
That's correct.
So that, and at 8%. So that basically, in the long run, the town gets more money that way than they would otherwise get.
Yeah, I'm not,
That's right.
I can't speak to the percentage, but if that's the case, that is
But that-
correct. And they're also deferring their taxes as well.
that's
Yes.
only on the part they deferred though. That's only on the part they deferred the interest.
Okay, well, sure,
Right.
yeah.
Not the whole thing,
Right.
just that
Of
part.
course, yeah.
Sure.
But if you wanna get into this a little deeper in terms of the rules, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41A, outlines all the details on this and shows where the town can make decisions as well.
Right.
So,
But any other questions from the committee or the attendees? Ron?
So on these two bullets, I have a couple of questions. The second bullet first, incorporate all other capital facility projects. I assume that's talking about out years, all that black area. Do we have a list of what, and of those projects?
I don't. I know that once we look at the immediate need, then we will compile a list. I know there's some historical knowledge. I know we've I think completed some of these projects, but then I really need to look at the future projects.
Part of that question would be when you mentioned historical needs. We're asking here for roughly $5 million in capital improvements to the existing sewer, wastewater plant and water plant. Where does the decision between what's a capital improvement, what's maintenance and repair come in?
Okay.
And more importantly, do we know going back in time how much money we have spent so that we can project in the future what might go into capital maintenance and repair, upgrade?
No, that's a great question. Maintenance and repair will be incorporated into your operating budget because it will be a reoccurring expense. So we want to pay that with reoccurring revenue. So that will be paid with
But
your Proposition
I'm asking,
2.5.
Do we know what that number is? Because we're asking $5 million here. Is this a $2 million per year number, or?
No, I know there's been some projections, but the other thing I want to add, and I was trying to keep the presentation kind of, simple, but once the SOARs are in place, you will be receiving SOAR revenue. Okay, so they'll be paying yearly SOAR rates.
Right.
So it's
Right.
not
User
just the
fees.
betterments, it will be the SOAR rates as well.
Right.
And when you look at the expansion of the wastewater treatment facility, it's not being expanded to the extent where you have to add a lot of new people, because that's where your overhead will increase. So if you're increasing or you're building a new wastewater treatment facility, say you're just starting on this project, well then yes, you'd have, let's look at our O&M, let's look at, how many personnel we need. Here, because you have an existing facility, you won't need a lot of new personnel. And I know that it's been looked at, but you're also going to be bringing in SOAR revenue in addition to that, which will more than offset the operation and maintenance of this.
I'm just saying that at this point, it would be good to know what those numbers are, because the taxpayer, the voter, would want to know what they might expect for an annual sewer bill.
Yep.
Yep, and we will be looking at that.
Okay, so the only other, one more, the question on the first bullet, from a fiduciary responsibility standpoint, why would the committee representing the town's interest not choose 100% betterment? In other words, why, they're the decision makers, 25, 50, 70, and 100%, just how does one make that decision on choosing one over the other? What are the factors that go into that decision that this committee is being asked to be made?
Well, I'll let the committee answer it, but really, they're making a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen will be making a recommendation at town meeting, so it's ultimately a town meeting vote. If you're looking at 100% betterments, I'm sure there'd be a lot of phone calls.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
that's why we're here. I mean, politically, it would be impossible to expect people to pay 100%. So we're going to probably offer somewhere in between 50% and 100%.
So it's strictly a political decision, not a fiduciary.
Well, it's based on how you expect town meeting to vote on it, and then
Well,
it has to go to
thing is, I
the
just
voters.
think it's sort of funny that
Well,
the selectmen pass a political
Yeah.
decision to a
Well,
subcommittee.
it makes sense because we have the time to go into it, to delve into it, and to consider all the options.
There's
That's
a more basic answer, and I'm obviously can't speak for the whole committee, but it's a matter of fairness.
Yeah.
If you did 100% betterment, then it's all being paid by the people who are getting the service at Round Little Pond.
Right.
And so the rest of the taxpayers will say, right on, unless they have a sense of fairness. Wait, let me just finish. But if you have 0% betterment, then the rest of the taxpayers say, hey, they're getting sewers. They don't have to take care of their septic systems anymore. Why should we pay for all of that? So I think that's the fundamental trade-off you have to make.
I think it's fair to say the committee will be recommending somewhere between 0 and 100%.
I mean, you could take it a step further and say that the state owes us something for this, for improving the waters and maintaining the coastal system, which is so important to the tourist economy. We as a county, we pay more in taxes than we get. I don't know what the factor is, but it's clearly
Sure.
because of the environment, the tourist economy, and the benefits of the ecology. So you could argue, and I would argue, that the state should contribute more than they currently are, or offering to do.
Mr. Finneran?
A couple things. I'd just like to point out, as far as the sewering rates, I mean, we have a recent past history of raising the sewering rate 60%. And then also on the graphs there, putting the $5 million for the senior center in there, is that a clever way of management lobbying for the senior vote on this?
That's not our purview.
Yeah.
We didn't do it.
We-
No,
The
you know,
selectmen did.
We
let
didn't-
me
We have
answer.
nothing to do with it, but
I don't mind answering.
yeah, go ahead.
No, let me answer that question. I was asked to put this plan together, and so I want to put something, this is something more than just water and wastewater. And the selectmen have looked at this, and so we wanted to incorporate this into the plan because we wanted to give more information. And I think by leaving it out, and we know that we're looking at it, it has been in front of the Board of Selectmen with the feasibility study. A lot of people want a new senior center. I thought it was important, or we thought it was important, to put it into the graph. It wasn't the committee, to show the whole debt drop-off and what you'd be looking at. It was just trying to give everybody the most information that we have right now.
I'm not anti-senior, obviously, or anti-senior center, but it hasn't even been voted on, and you're already putting it in a projected budget.
Right.
It just seems a little odd.
It is a
Well-
plan.
Well,
It is a
it-
plan that
it's not
changes.
part of our plan, and we're just here
Right.
to work on the betterment piece for the next month. And even though Mr. Finneran told the Board of Selectmen he wasn't sure we would be the most qualified group to do that, we probably aren't, but we're the ones who are doing it anyway. So we hope to prove you wrong. Any other comments or questions? Okay, if not, thank you very much.
I have a
Thank you.
question.
Oh, sure.
What is the user fee for sewering now? Is it 3 times the water rate like it was?
I don't know, and Jerry's not here.
That's what it was when we were selectmen. It was
They
3
raised it
times
60% about 3
the
years
water
ago.
rate.
For some reason, I think it's 2 or 2.5, but
Yeah.
I don't.
So
know.
it's not
You're not
far
far
off.
off.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll find out and get a real number.
That's a piece of the information that needs to be developed.
okay.
$250 a year roughly.
Somebody told me it was twice your water bill, but I don't know
Well,
if that's
I know,
right.
Right,
water
well,
bill's about
that's
90,
right.
about 100, so it's like, it's about 2 to 2.5 times, something like that.
Whatever.
Somewhere in that range.
Water bills differ depending on the water you use.
But the sewer bill is going to be based on
They
that
don't
same
care.
number.
Yeah, they don't-
If you're using it to irrigate your lawn, you're doing you're going to pay anyway for sewer.
Okay. No. Okay. Now, as far as process goes, we have a timeline on producing a recommendation for the selectmen. It's about a month. So I thought we have 2 meetings between now and that, when we have to have a,
When is our
Or
next
maybe
meeting?
3.
or maybe 3. Right. The next meeting is the last Thursday of this month, and then the first Thursday of February, which is the 6th, and then the 3rd Thursday in February, which is the 20th. So I think what I'd like to do with this is appoint a study group to come back to each meeting with reports as to how far along we've gotten, because a lot of this is going to involve chasing down numbers, like the one Matt just asked about. How much is the sewer bill for people? So if Virginia and John, because John was involved in this with when they did it in North Falmouth 10 years ago. So I think he'd be useful. And Steve, that would be a study group that would put together the kind of numbers and facts that the whole committee will need to chew on when we come back for the next meeting in 2 weeks. So I'd like to do that, and then we'll be back in a couple of weeks with more than we have tonight. But I thank Jennifer for painting the big picture, and we'll be back with a smaller picture. Next item on the agenda.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank your son for his patience. Update and
He didn't
discussion
hear a word you
on
said.
CWMP. Okay. Everybody in this room spent countless hours drafting the town's CWMP over the last 2 years. And I mean countless. We were here till 11 o'clock at night. Thanks to Mrs. Weig, we went page by page, line by line, word by word, spelling error by spelling error.
Yeah, the
And
commas,
you.
that was in.
This thing was vetted and created and put together in excruciating detail in an excruciatingly high quality manner. And what we got back from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts was recognition of that fact. We got a 20-page response, a certificate from the Secretary that says this plan is adequate. But they went beyond adequate. They said this plan is a landmark. This plan changes the paradigm for all of Cape Cod. Because you remember what they started out with. We want you to sewer 8,000 houses and then do a couple of thousand more. We want you to tell us how you're going to spend $600 million sewering the whole watershed for these ponds. This plan is the Falmouth plan. This plan doesn't do that. This plan, as you all well know what's in this plan, we're going to sewer as little as possible. We're going to pursue all the alternatives with these demonstration projects. They bought it. They not without struggle and not without extreme antagonism from some very powerful directions. But at the end of the day, the state of Massachusetts looked down on Cape Cod and said, there's one town there that's doing this the right way. And it's Falmouth. And I think everyone in this room deserves an awful lot of credit for that. I don't know any other place or any other group that could have pulled this off. The Cape Cod Commission is now saying their plan for Cape Cod is modeled on our plan. They have come a long way.
I guess.
Everybody's saying this is the model. And
When are they going to send us the money?
that would be the next
They're
question.
spending how much? $2 million to do this?
3 something.
That would be the next question.
180 or
But,
what do they call it?
208.
208.
208.
Right, right.
Should be a 180.
But yeah, playing 180. If there's one person who's done an amazing piece of work, well, there's two. There's actually 7. But Virginia, talk about line by line.
Absolutely.
To answer 243 questions in a coherent manner, and it was amazing. I don't know how you can even read 243 questions, but she answered them.
I'm just glad she's on our committee.
No kidding.
Thank
No
you
kidding.
very much.
And Sia, obviously, every inch of the way was reading their stuff, reading our stuff, dealing with all these agencies, fending them off. You know, Hilda, their problem with our plan was not that it didn't have enough alternatives in it. It was that it had alternatives at all. They wanted sewers every inch of this town, and we beat them back. And we'll give all the alternative advocates some credit because they spoke up early and said there's got to be a better way, a different way. We found a different way. We don't know that every one of these alternatives is going to work, but we told them we're going to find out. We're going to find out our way on our timetable, and the ones that work when they use, and the ones that don't, we won't. And but whatever it is, there'll be alternatives discussed and proven every inch of the way. It's a remarkable turnaround from a state that 3 years ago was saying sewer everything. Any other comments or questions from,
I have one
The group?
very small
Yeah.
comment.
yeah,
On page 5.
Yeah.
The last line of page 5 says, will include a vote to authorize a 90 million 30-year construction bond to implement. I think they didn't mean,
they're wrong.
you're wrong, yeah.
The 90 would include the water filtration.
That's right.
And they just-
Does that make any difference? I mean,
No,
we don't
Nothing.
have
no,
to-
Nope.
there are a couple of factual errors, you could
Right.
even call them typos, but there are a few in here,
Right.
that's one of them.
But that doesn't make any
It
difference.
doesn't affect
We don't
the
have to-
certificate.
We don't have to go back to them and say, you
No.
gotta change that.
We don't have to go back to them, period.
Well, we have to in
Oh.
5 years.
In 5 years.
5 years.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, they want updates on,
That's right.
In 5 years, our successors can go back to them and talk
Right.
about this.
And they did
You won't be
require a filing of the Bourne's Pond project, the
In a
inlet
year.
widening, by the end of December of this year, 2014. So if there were, there are a few, you might call them conditions or specifics, sort of scattered through this document. But those are the two that are most important to us.
I'd like to ask one thing about that 5-year thing. It looked to me as if they were saying, come back to us in 5 years with a plan. I don't think they mean, but I don't know whether they do mean or not, whether it has to be the complete plan, do everything. Or whether they are saying, come back with a plan and we'll talk about it.
Well, they'll want it to be as complete as
Oh, yes, they will.
possible. And by that time, we will have gathered a lot of really specific, real-life information. And so we or our successors will write a factual report, and the technical term will be a notice of project change. The report will be filed in that form.
Any other questions or comments on the CWMP? We can put that one to bed for 5 years.
Hold on.
Silda?
I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but it said on page 7, 45 acres of oysters could mitigate seasonal nitrogen load in Middle Pond. If that is the case, does that mean that we do sewering just to mitigate the off-season nitrogen load? If we can
Could-
take care of the seasonal load, the 45 acres in Middle Pond, why do we need to sewer?
Well, we've had that argument quite a number of times already, and the word mitigate does not mean remove all nitrogen. I think the premise here is if you reduce it from 8.5, which the reading is now, to 4.5, which the sewer presumably would do, getting the next half down to 4 could be done with the shellfish, and that would bring it down to the level where it met the TMDLs, and the show you would have done what you were obliged to do. But yeah, no one is alleging that. Well, maybe someone is, but no one in this report is alleging that oysters alone could do that. There are
I would
opposing
not-
views, I understand.
No, it isn't. I think that if based on the Woods Hole Group's report and that type of thing, and their findings, that 4 to 5 acres or possibly 6 acres, 8 acres, something like this, could mitigate the entire warmer month nitrogen to meet in essence, meet the TMDL by uptake of nitrogen. And so that is based on science, should be feasible. The question comes in is still, as I've raised in the past, is whether the winter load is a problem.
Yeah, I recall.
And we'll find, we're going to be learning
We're gonna
about
find
that.
out.
Yeah. But if the winter load is not a problem, and aquaculture can take care of the summer load,
I recall the argument.
then we're in the, then we're,
We recall the argument,
Yeah.
and we'll pursue it. And we have this other study group that's supposed to be looking at the other water bodies in town, of which you are a member. And I think
That's where we need the information.
that's where we need the information. We have 5 more estuaries, any one of which, if your theory is right, will be relieved of sewering if we can find enough room for shellfish. And that's the task of the
yeah,
task
well,
force.
this is 10% of Little Pond, 4 to 5 acres, so that's about.
Got it. Okay,
I have one.
yes.
On page 9, there's a concern about the decks. About
Okay, where are you?
I don't know exactly where it's on page 9. And they stated that it's very important to monitor.
By KEC, you mean the CEC.
Community, yeah.
And, and they say it's very important to monitor it. Well, monitoring is very important, but if we find evidence of these, what are they gonna do? What's the plan? Because it says it's good to monitor, but what if these are found? What is the next step?
The next to the last paragraph.
I don't
They-
know. just
I don't
have notes.
think DEP or the EPA has set any standards for them yet, to my
Yeah,
knowledge. So.
they have not. Neither the state nor the federal government has any idea what these contaminants are, or what a safe standard would be if they found any. So until they figure it out, we're not going to figure it out. Any other comments on the CWMP before we lay it to rest? Okay. Thank you, terrific. All right, update on special acts hearing in Boston. Our member who attended and testified, and Representative Madden called to tell me that he did a very good job of testifying. And
Who was this representative?
Tim Madden,
Oh, good,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it.
he said you were great, and the committee was bowled over. They apparently reported the bill out as soon as you finished.
Mr. Vieira did that.
Oh, okay.
He made arrangements with them that they would get it as quick as possible. I went in this morning thinking very naively that all the work had been done and that this was the last stage in the process, and that when it went through that, it was finished. I learned from Vieira that this is the first stage of 15 or so, and that he said that we won't know at either one of these, at least until March, probably until May, whether it's going through or not. He's going to try to see if he can push it through. This morning at the committee meeting, he arranged with them. They said, we will actually vote on this today, up or down, and we think we'll vote yes. So I haven't heard what they did, but
They voted yes.
They voted yes.
They better have voted yes.
Right.
Yeah, I enjoyed
Otherwise,
going
he's
because it
fired.
was the first time I'd ever seen the Capitol. And
It's a lovely building.
the whole building, I had never.
It's a great building.
Never seen it inside the building before. So it was an experience for me. I'm glad to hear somebody thought I did okay. I was trying to be as brief as possible. I said a few words and I left it. I said,
Great.
So,
Right.
Good. Well, thank you, Win.
Yes, I'm glad you went. It was important to have somebody from the town speaking on this.
David Vieira said he did want someone to speak. There was someone else there, I can't remember his name, was speaking on the other two bills. He was glad that we were there so that he could turn it over to us and say, here's, people in the town are actually talking about us.
Great, great.
Yeah, okay. That's it.
Good. Update on town meeting articles.
Oh, and one more thing.
Oh, sure.
Does anybody want to know the numbers? Article 42 is now S1939. S1939, and Article 43 is S1938. Those are the numbers.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
Senate bills.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Update on town meeting articles. We did not meet on the first Thursday in January because of the snowstorm, so we didn't have a chance to have any discussion or input on the town meeting articles. The DPW filed them and the selectmen have them. I can pass around the form in which they were filed by the DPW, but this may not be the final form that the selectmen actually use. But you're welcome to. Anybody wants to see them?
Oh, why don't we just say with topic-wise what they are?
Okay. One was on betterments. To see if the town will vote to determine whether it shall pay the whole or a portion of the cost of laying out and constructing collection sewers and related infrastructure, and if a portion, what portion, that's the betterment question, under the provisions of Section 23 of Chapter 83 of the Mass General Laws, or do or take any other action in this matter. So, in other words, set a betterment. Second one is the construction money. To see if the town will appropriate a sum of money for the purposes of funding design, construction, and any other costs relating to the following nitrogen mitigation / wastewater projects. Little Pond Sewer Service Area, Blacksmith Shop Road Treatment Plant upgrades, Discharge Area Site 7, Bourne's Pond Inlet Widening, Woods Hole Infiltration Inflow Project, and to determine how the same shall be raised and by whom expended, or do or take any other action in this matter.
And how much is that?
They don't have dollar figures attached to them at this point. That would come in the motion. But I believe it's, what's the number, 39 million?
No,
40?
For
44?
all the things
For all
that-
these,
For
yeah.
all the things that you, it's about $49 million.
49.
For everything, yeah.
Yeah, 49 and something.
That was on the,
It's
that
on
number.
one of the benefits.
Okay.
That includes the Woods Hole thing, because we've never discussed
Yeah,
that
that
before.
was, the Woods Hole thing has not been part of our charge or concern,
Yeah,
but it is a charge or concern of the DPW and of the town, because it was part of the settlement agreement that the town reached with the state and the Coalition for Buzzards Bay, that the town would proceed to identify what is causing salt water to come in inordinately in the Woods Hole sewer collection area and to fix it.
Leaks.
Very good.
Hi.
Well, considering that collection system is as old as I am, it probably could leak too.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have no idea what, for instance, the last 10 years, how much this wastewater plant has cost us on operation and maintenance, right?
No, we do have an idea, and we'd be happy to supply you that information, but the gentleman who has it isn't here. Since the question was only asked half an hour ago, well, we could get that if people want it, but like I say, he's not here.
It seems like there's so many millions every year coming through, and it would be kind of interesting to see what the sewer plant costs
Mhm.
for X number of houses, dwellings, parcels, units, whatever.
Sure. Any other conversation on the town meeting articles?
16.5 million.
Yeah.
I was
When?
afraid
In the
that
last
because
10
we
years.
didn't come that evening,
Is that all?
they couldn't be put in
For the
journal articles. We
When
didn't have
maintenance.
one.
I was a selectman in the
Selectmen
90s, we
can
were
put the articles
fixing
in
it
at any
Oh,
time.
really?
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
big time.
Right.
The odor was terrible.
Okay, number 5, Cape Cod Collaborative Falmouth funding proposals.
It was 50 million in 2006.
The Cape Cod Collaborative is this county entity that uses county appropriations for the purpose of promoting Cape-wide wastewater projects. When we had, what's his name who was here?
Andy Gottlieb?
No,
Mike Dominica?
Mike Dominica.
Mike.
They paid for Mike Dominica. You remember
Yes.
when we had him,
Yeah.
and he was helpful in putting together our requests for
RFPs.
proposals and stuff like that. So they did that, but that frankly is all we can remember getting from them since their inception.
Well, the conference. There was
Oh,
a
yes, right,
conference.
wait, $1,000 for your,
$1,000
for your
for the
Equatoid
conference.
conference.
Right.
We got that from them.
That came from there. That was Webner, they gave it to Webner.
Right,
Right.
but it was at our request on your behalf, we did that. So, but anyway, we've met with Andy Gottlieb, who's the head of this outfit, and back in March, we sent him a list of things the town and our committee would like to see them help fund. And we met with him recently, and he has agreed to recommend two items for funding. Was it 50,000 for?
Monitoring of the second year of the shellfish demonstration project. It's, the monitoring is quite an important piece of this, and Andy felt that it was very important to establishing the efficacy of shellfish, so it had broad applicability, and we estimated, based on last year's monitoring costs, that it was about a $50,000 project to do the monitoring for next year. And so he was supportive of that, which was fantastic.
Yes, because otherwise it would be our Article 17 money, and
Yeah,
we'd rather
right,
spend
yeah.
theirs.
Yeah.
That goes
Well-
to SMEST?
It has been, yeah, I guess we'll, for the third, I don't know, do we have them all 3 years, SMAS? Are we committed to them for all 3 years?
I think
I have not looked at the contract. Well,
Okay.
we are not committed to them for 3 years. It was a one-year contract.
That's right.
And the one thing I have not looked at is whether that contract stipulated an extension, that the town, at its own discretion, could extend it for another year if we so desired. If that's not in there, then we have to go out for an RFP again. If not, we could roll over and continue the contract and continue to work. I haven't looked at the specifics of the language. I'm gonna put that on those.
So that was 50,000.
Right, we had one other from the collaborative, the 25,
Right, and the
It's for
other is,
winter. Yeah.
unless, do you wanna talk about it, Virginia?
No.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's
the
do it
other
today.
was to look at coordinating some groundwater characterization in the Seacoast Shores Peninsula.
That was Acapesca.
It was
Acapesca.
Acapesca, right?
Yeah, we
And-
have information on Sequoia.
We do, right. And this was to look at Acapesca to try to understand the depth to groundwater and to characterize it, to determine what the depth of a PRB would need to be. So it's
Okay.
basically to get some ground source field data to help inform a PRB, a potential PRB installation. We just, without knowing what's really going on there, it's very hard to design.
So it's 25,000?
25,000, yeah. And they have, the collaborative has voted a cap, that they administratively can't, in a fiscal year, give more than $75,000 to a town, so.
I see.
Well, it's 75 more than we got before, so we're quite happy to be on the same page as they are as far as that goes.
And he left the door open for us to consider other projects. I mentioned before that the U.S. Geological Survey is very interested in developing a better understanding of the South Coast peninsulas.
What's their fiscal year? Is it June, July?
July 1st.
The count,
Yeah, the county's July to July.
okay, so we can
Yeah.
go back after July.
After July.
Right.
Okay.
I think that, yeah, it's great that we got the 50,000 for the monitoring of Little Pond, because we really don't have a budget for the third year.
I know.
right? So this is sort of
Right.
really, really
Yeah, this
important.
covers half of it anyway.
Yes.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
more.
so, I mean, we may have the budget, but we don't know at this point
Yeah,
what it'll be. But-
we would have to exceed what we previously had thought we were going to spend.
Right,
Right.
right,
So,
right.
yeah.
But some things have dropped out, but still there's money moving around, so
Mhm.
that's great, excellent.
Okay, other reports of committee members and staff? Sure.
And then, I don't believe I reported on the first meeting, I've had two meetings recently, one in Orleans, which I think I told you I was going, and one in Eastham just last week, or a couple of days ago. Both, in Orleans, I talked with coastal engineering staff, Todd Palmatier and his boss, Mr. Bologna, and another person in the firm, and just told them what we were doing, and because they were interested, and answered their questions about what we were doing down here, especially with respect to eco-toilets, but in general. And I went, a couple of days ago, I went to Eastham, and I basically gave a presentation together with Pio Lombardo. We were both on the meeting, before the Eastham Board of Health. It was something they do once a week, or once a month, I guess, they do a workshop in which they give presentations. Out of those two meetings have come several things. I just have been talking with Todd Palmatier about what came out of that first meeting and what is going forward with respect to coastal engineering. Coastal engineering would like to is proposing to do two things. One is they would like our help, and this is something Todd is pushing forward, they would like our help in developing a comparison of what it would cost to use eco-toilets as a main means of dealing with wastewater problems in the Skakit Center thing, if they were to do it today. To compare with what they've done now, it's basically stores and restaurants and so forth there, which has about a $30,000 GP, gallon per day use of water, and where they have a system in operation now. They want to compare it with a hypothetical case of eco-toilets. They would like us to provide them with technical assistance in developing a comparison with what it would cost to do eco-toilets in that area, what they might get out of it. Because they are interested in presenting those kinds of things to other large customers as a possibility in the future. They're interested in eco-toilets, and they would like to do that on a large scale, on a larger scale. So that's one. The second thing is that they want to develop their capability if and when eco-toilets, and also when other possibilities for bio-waste come into operation. They want to actually see if they can develop the funding and the expertise to apply for a grant to do a rotating composter, like an eco-drum. They want to do an eco-drum. They want to try one down there. They would like to become in the position to bid on collection and disposal of eco-toilet process products when they start to be used. So they believe that there's possibility for this, and they want to set themselves up for the possibility that they could get into that. And I guess I want to ask the committee, to what extent can we, operating in Falmouth, provide them with help, in technical help, and just getting the figures together that they need to do that, to help them, advise them and so forth in getting those figures together.
Explain to me how a town government can use its money, i.e. see its
Wouldn't be a
time.
question, okay, yeah.
Unless you're doing it, if you do it as an individual or Hilda does it, that's,
I'm
we
doing
have no
what I-
say over that.
I'm going to
You
do
don't
what I
need to
can
ask
to
us.
provide them, yeah.
But if the committee votes that the town does it, then you're using town taxpayer money to help a private company become a better private company. And even if they're saving millions of lives, I have a problem with that.
Well, if they were saving millions of
Well, then
lives.
I wouldn't, but
If they're not doing it in Falmouth, forget it.
You know, I'm certainly going to give them whatever help I can, talk
Yeah.
with them about it and so forth. They're, and they, you know, if they can prove eco-drums to be useful, that's a great thing for us. If they could come to this town and have a developer develop some project where they use it, that's great too. So it's all in our advantage to help them.
Sure.
But I just wanted to come to you and say that's what they're asking. They're just, they have their own engineers, but they want whatever information we have. And I think I can give them any information we have. I think there's no question about that.
Sure.
And I'll
Well,
give it
I
to
hope
you in a second.
you have a good hourly rate.
I have a very good hourly rate.
Good.
And the second
Getting
thing
paid
is
twice when
that
he gets paid here.
The town of Eastham, at least the Board of Health in the town of Eastham is very interested in eco-toilets and things of that sort. There's one member of the Board of Health has already, and one of the persons who works for the Board of Health, both have said they would like to install eco-toilets in our project. One of them quite seriously, the other one has to persuade her husband first. But the one person
Oh, yeah.
wants to join our project, and I said, that's great.
That's a done
You
deal.
should talk with George about how to get the sampling done. And you can't get the $5,000 from us, but we would certainly like to have you as a member of the project. We have no problem with that.
Mm.
She's also said, she's a person who's very interested in ecology and so forth. She said she would try to see if she could get some of her neighbors interested in it. She lives in one of those areas where very many people are living in a small place, near the water, right near near the water, where they have problems with their own water and they have problems with the marsh and so forth. So she'd like to get 12 or 15 people in that area to put in eco-toilets and try them out. She doesn't think she can do that, but she'll try. So that's one thing. The other thing they were asking me about, could we help them develop, and this was the what's his name? What's her name? Jane. Anyway, she was heading the meeting. She's the
The agent
the agent, the agent.
in Eastham?
She's the Board of Health agent in Eastham. She said,
It's not Pat, it's, oh,
yeah, yes, what's her name?
Janet.
Janet, yeah, whatever her name is.
Ah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter what her name is. She's interested in cooperating with Falmouth to find out whether we can help her with two things. One is they want to see if they can get the Cape Cod Seashore to install something or other to improve. They have an IA system, but it's not doing anything for the nitrogen right now. And
Oh, what is it doing?
Or not doing enough.
it's not doing anywhere near
Okay.
enough. It's a very old system.
I see.
It's
Well,
one that's-
there are IA systems that are approved for general use that are not nitrogen
That's right.
removing
And that's what
IA
this is.
systems.
It's an old
They're the
system.
equivalent of a Title V system.
That's right.
That's why they're
Okay.
conditionally.
That's right. They have one, they are asking what could the federal government do. That's a fight we don't have to have, but they would like to have as much information as they can get about eco-toilets so that they could, and some help, again, help with just technical help of some kind or another to help them go through that.
Mhm.
And she is also interested in the question of using eco-toilets in the town, of setting it up, thinking about how to use eco-toilets in the town to reduce their problems. They bought the idea that maybe there might be some use in eco-toilets in areas where they have lots of water problems, to reduce the amount of water problems they have. And they're right now in the process of reviewing the whole system, the whole thing, and she would like to include eco-toilets in that discussion and would like help in doing that. So we have that's what I've accomplished, and I have a third one I'm going to, I haven't been able to meet with him yet, but I may be meeting with the selectmen in the town of Orleans to give them the same kind of report I've given these past 2 times about eco-toilets. So down there at the end of the Cape, at the other end of the Cape,
Yeah.
there's interest in what we're doing, and I hope it will help Cape Cod Commission to become more knowledgeable about these things. I think it's, and it may even get some people for us.
Great. Matt?
I think this is great win, and I think where we can help them is to provide them with the way we set up our program.
I gave them all that information.
You gave them that information? That's great. Yeah. Saves them a lot of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, also, as we get data, we can give them data.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sure.
I've been, an inquiry came from, basically from, not an inquiry, but a message came through Pamela Truesdale of DEP. And so I've been following up on that, and she had been approached, I think, by Brenda Swain of the Service Center, and there's a lot of concern now rising over affordability of the sewer system. And actually, Wynn and I were in a meeting last night on this, but so I went to, so a couple things were that we've been talking about because the figures that we've seen this evening on cost or whatever, debt, managing debt, didn't include the connection cost from the home to the sewer. That's another, whatever it is, if it's $5,000, that we don't know what it'll be yet, but it'll be different for every house. That much we know. And there is some good news on this, and that is that through the county, you can borrow that money at 5% interest over 20 years. So if there's a $5,000 or $6,000 cost to hook up, the county can actually assist with that hookup cost. And they have money. They can also, and this is all through SRF funding, and the SRF funding can also be used, the county's program that they've been doing for decade or more, in terms of upgrading septic systems, installing IA systems. They can use SRF money with the betterment, and that's what they've been doing. So that's been going on for years now, really, with the county. Kendall Ayers is the focal point in the department there. So I went back to him on this on a number of things, and but those are really the key points. The thing is that they have a 20-year, and it's 5%, because that's what it is. That's how they operate, and that's what's been set. They get it, I guess, at 2% or something, and then they unlend it. And that actually, if the town were to move in that direction in a big way, according to Pamela and according to Kendall, the funding would be there. So if we wanted to put in IA system, or whatever, not we, but if people were interested, betterments can be assigned for that. And it is the same as that, I think it was that chapter that we mentioned in the last town meeting, chapter 111, section 127. B and a half, and right, whatever it is. But this is a standard thing the county's been doing, and actually, we are lucky that the county is like the lead in the state. Our county, Barnstable County, Kendall Ayers is the guy. Okay, he knows, he's been doing it, and so that works from a legal standpoint or a practical standpoint that the gates are really virtually open for being able to apply these funds from the county to do those types of systems. Now this is helpful. I mean, when we were working in our subgroup on the betterment special legislation, we were trying to keep the costs as low as practically possible on these things. And so we can start looking at this, I think. I don't know if your subgroup you've just appointed would be interested in following up on this,
Oh,
but they
absolutely.
might,
No,
but they
I'm
might
glad
be
you
able
did.
to.
It's a
But this
it's
is
good news.
something that can be there.
It can also be used for composting toilets too.
Right, composting toilets, but it's 0%
Ah.
for composting
yeah.
toilets. sorry.
0%.
0%, and it's 20-year repayment also. But it's 0%, but for IA systems, for septic system upgrades, the standard kinds of things, it's 5%.
Okay.
But for composting toilets, 0%. And, but this is now getting to a point where there's been, this concern over affordability is rising. And of these things, I mean, if we don't look at this just in isolation, but we do have the new FEMA maps, and those insurance costs, flood insurance is going to, according to Ray Jack, it's going to go from maybe $800 a year to $10,000 a year for some houses. And so if they raise the house, which probably makes a lot of sense, versus paying $10,000 a year, it can be reduced. But raise it by picking it up. And even there's discussion about filling in a basement, I've read recently. It's very
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah.
But anyway, but that can save $10,000. You can cut
But I like
things
my
down.
basement.
No, anyway,
Oh, very nice.
but that, and then we got the maybe higher water bills and things like this are going to be impacting,
Yeah.
particularly this area that, as Matt has indicated, is one of the poorer or lower income areas in Falmouth. So I think that we've been doing that. And then last night, the Unitarian Universalist group under Bob Murphy is interested in actually have a meeting to discuss this aspect. And so he invited Wynn and I to come, and David Dowd was there, and Chris Poloni and somebody else. I don't know. Anyway, but they want to have a meeting on this and to try and bring in folks and possibly Jennifer, if she's right, but trying to understand, first of all, the law that I mentioned earlier this evening in terms of senior citizens being able to defer payment if they're really under whatever the conditions are. And there might be a rationale in the future. I'm not sure how this would work, but additional special legislation for very low income households. I don't know how that would work or whatever, but if it's applied to senior citizens, there might be a way as we progress to see how this is going to work out. And I think that working with the Service Center and Brenda's interest and Bob Murphy's interest and our committee's interest as well, I think we're all very concerned about this. So, so those were those aspects. One other thing I did follow up on too is that after the Cape Cod Commission's meeting when was it, in December, was it? Yeah, 15th or something, whichever. And I followed up after that and sent information to the T-Ticket Civic Association to see if anyone had, just to send the information around, and also to the Falmouth Heights Mara Vista Improvement Association. And then they distributed that. I actually got 2 emails back.
The piece about the county program?
No, about our program. The county had the meeting,
Oh, okay.
and no one came from that. None of the people who were going to be
Right.
or would be on the sewer if it goes through.
You mean the MIPA hearing?
Yeah, MIPA hearing. Yeah, it was Cape Cod Commission.
Okay.
MIPA wasn't there,
You
but
lost me.
Cape
What
Cod.
was it you sent around to these associations?
I just sent them the information about the CWMP and this kind of thing, just the
Oh,
basic thing, and the
okay.
fact that it's coming,
Okay.
that this project is happening, just so that they would all be aware if they're not, in case. And I got two responses and only, as I recall. One was, if the sewer comes by, cost doesn't matter to me. This was one person.
He wanted it.
Wanted it. But unfortunately, they live in a place where the sewer's not going. So anyway, yeah.
Okay.
And the other one was more, I think, along, is it Great Bay Road, where their serious erosion is? They were very concerned about, and I'm sure this, I presume, very concerned about the floodplain and flooding and impacts on the system, and that this would be something that they could not support. They were very strongly saying, unless this is really explained very, very clearly. So that was, but that was very little response, obviously. I don't,
Did you put them in touch with each other so we can swap out?
yeah, right. So they can swim, yeah.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
but anyway, so those were just, I just thought it was important that we get whatever information we could get back.
Sure.
And I don't know, I know that the Falmouth Heights group did distribute it, but I don't know if the T-Ticket Civic Association did, because I really didn't get, well, maybe I did. Maybe it was the Great Bay Road is more in their, that's more in their domain, because
Yeah.
it's on Great Pond.
Right.
So that's been the notion. It's just so that people are not suddenly, coming after us with torches and
Right.
pitchforks, kind of
Well,
thing.
two
Yeah.
follow-ups here. First of all, I'm glad you
Yeah.
checked with the county on this, because that is, I think we originally thought that program would not apply to these people hooking up to a sewer, and the answer is it will,
Yes,
which means that the people who say, I don't have $4,000 to pay for a hookup, now have an answer.
right.
The county will lend them the $4,000 at 5% interest, and that's $250 a year or $200 a year interest, which is
Whatever.
affordable for anybody. So that's good news.
Yeah.
The other piece that I think I sort of, when I got the email from Pam, I sent it to the rest of the committee, and it did reference Brenda at the service center and her being
Right.
concerned about the impact, the economic impact on the people in the area. I called her up and said, who are you hearing from? What's going on? And she said, well, she actually hadn't heard from anybody. What she had done was attend the Precinct 3 meeting, which you had and I had. And so
Right.
the three of us were all at the Precinct 3 meeting, and that's where she heard the conversation. But it was more along the lines of what's in this special
see.
act that you people are putting together. And you and I were both there to
Yeah,
answer those.
yeah.
You saw the kind of questions we got. And
Right, right.
It was not, as it might have been portrayed in Pam's email, a plea of concern from people who can't afford it. It was from people.
I had the
just wanted to
impression
know
that people
what
had
we
come
were
to
doing.
her. From the email, I had the impression people, I didn't follow
Yeah,
up.
well, I did follow
They
up
did,
because
okay.
if there were people,
We wanted to know
we
that.
wanted to know who,
Yeah.
what they were saying, and it turns out they weren't.
Ron, the person that wanted to hitch up to the sewer at any price was because their system was failing. Did you put them in touch with the Echo toilet?
No, they didn't say that. They didn't say that. I could have done that, but they just said that they didn't say anything about a failed system. They just said that they would welcome something, but maybe it could be. I could go back to them and ask.
Sure.
That's a good
I
question.
just
I
wanted
win.
to add to Ron
Yeah.
about the meeting that we went to yesterday. At least provisionally, Saturday morning, March 8th, at the Falmouth Public Library, there will be a meeting, a general meeting. And the basic questions which will be asked, the basic problem which the meeting is addressing is what the financial situation is today and what it means to the poor with respect to the CWMP and in other words, it's focused on the CWMP, on what's going forward at town meeting, on what we're voting for. What is the financial situation? It's sort of, in fact, they were suggesting perhaps that Janet could come and speak with them about it.
Janet?
Jennifer.
Jennifer could come and speak with them about it. as a
What time,
possibility.
March 8th,
Yeah.
March 8th.
morning,
Right.
afternoon?
I think that
Saturday morning.
Jennifer's not going to have an answer until the town adopts
Yeah.
a betterment. If it's a 0% betterment, the economic
Well,
impact
she-
will be nothing.
Just the kind of information
Yeah,
she
but
gave to us.
we have to deliver something, but we'll have an
But it'll be-
indication
Right,
maybe.
it'll be in place by
Be
then.
some indication.
Right,
I don't know if
sure,
it'll be
Matt.
approved. yeah.
Right, and this is something that we agreed to discuss probably at the next meeting.
Absolutely, and the one after probably.
Right, and I think even though there weren't that many people, I mean, people that didn't actually complain to, that we should anticipate that there will be people that
Mhm.
can't afford it, and we should have alternatives,
Mhm.
not alternative systems, but alternative payment methods
Mhm.
available for
Yeah.
people who really do have a hardship.
No question about it. The special act was designed for that.
Yep.
We're now hearing that the county has a piece that'll help with that. You got these deferment. We'll have a whole menu of
Right.
things that'll make it work for people.
And maybe have the application,
Right.
applications available and a place for them to go to have it
Right.
filled out,
You
maybe.
want to mention that, or you want someone, that article that I'm pointing you
Oh, yeah,
forward?
oh, yes. Yeah, go ahead.
I just ran across this, I could look into the details, but, I'll just read it. Eligible property owners in Massachusetts can claim a tax credit
Yes.
equal to the amount by which their property tax payments, including water and sewer charges, exceed 10% of their yearly income. Renters can claim a credit if 25% of the rent they pay is more than 10% of their income. In other words, if their rent is more than 40% of the income. And can 3 years retroactively, and this may be only for people over 65.
It's
I
the
think
same
it-
circuit
I think
breaker,
it
is
is.
that what
It's
it
not.
says?
But 10% over, if it's $20,000 is, let's say they have,
I'm not saying it's the
I know,
answer to anything.
but that
I'm
would
saying
be
it's one of the
2,000, which
things.
is gonna be more than what I think in our vision would
But
be there.
one more arrow in the quiver anyway,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to make this affordable
Right.
for people.
Mhm. I'd like to get a copy of that.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we all should see that. Any other comments or questions or reports from committee members or staff? Staff?
Just briefly, I was at the I'm sorry,
Coastal-
Minot, thank you, Civic Association meeting, and the Coastal Ponds Committee was there. And they are talking about a report that I think got sent to me on Great Bay and habitat restoration in Great Bay. And the focus of it is, if you were to remove the nutrient problem if you were to remediate Great Bay, where would eelgrass beds be likely to start growing? And on a parallel track to coastal zone, to
I'm
CW.
confused, Great Bay or Great Harbor?
Or
Great Bay.
Great Pond.
Where's Great
I
Bay?
mean, I'm sorry, Great Pond.
Okay.
Great.
Okay,
So
fine.
Greens
Oh.
Pond, Great Pond.
Great.
Great Pond.
And maybe it's Green Pond at this point. I should write this down.
Where would eelgrass beds come back?
Where would they come back, and what should they do about the mooring field? So the real focus of their concern is, as we're moving forward with CWMP planning for the South Coast, if eelgrass would be to come back, what should mooring planning? Because moorings you can't change overnight. There's you've got a mooring. So that they're very concerned with getting the selectmen, and Chuck Martinson was there and is aware of this, just to start looking at how to redesign the mooring fields and then put conservation moorings in to allow for eelgrass restoration. So I thought that was incredibly wonderful and proactive of them to be thinking on these parallel tracks, that it takes years to move moorings around, and they want to start now thinking about how to do that to complement our efforts.
Great.
You don't have to, you just replace the mooring. I mean, there's all designs now.
I said
That's true.
conservation moorings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you tell people where the conservation mooring is. You seem to know. Are these?
Well, right now, your conventional mooring has a lot of scope with chain that swings around. So if you look at a photograph of like West Falmouth Harbor, you see all these little prop circles around every mooring. Okay? There are now basically taut chain design moorings that the chain doesn't drag on the bottom, so the eelgrass grows right up to the end. We put in a grant, we wrote a grant for the town to submit in 2009 to get money to replace all the moorings with those, but it didn't get funded.
Who would you apply to for that?
It was a NOAA program,
Okay.
the restoration program.
They're doing something in West Falmouth now. They're doing a demonstration of these conservation moorings, and one of the big questions is, what can you do to just buoy? Do you have to replace with these helix moorings, or can you buoy existing?
Your chain.
Well,
I was going to buoy on your chain.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have been sort of saying that, and they're about $1,000 to replace. So there's a lot of thinking going on, and that's what the Coastal Ponds Committee was doing.
I
Good.
don't
Yes,
think
good.
you can just put a buoy on a chain.
See, I
That defeats the purpose of the chain.
No, they have a helical anchor. There's a helical
Same
anchor with
right, you
a,
have to put a stronger board.
it's a helical anchor with a rod coming up and you tie onto that, yeah.
Everybody knows about this
Yeah.
here.
Wow, of course
So
you
many
did.
boaters in the room.
Well, this guy did it for a living. Get him a microphone here.
My
This is,
recommendation to the people of West Falmouth was to put a mooring, a float on the chain at the low tide level. Okay, and then you go with either a pennant from there or additional chain up to the boat, whichever. But that keeps the chain that would otherwise be dragged around the bottom, off the bottom, and so you don't,
Yeah. Right.
impinge on the,
Right, but you've still got the same amount of chain.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
One more thing.
All right, what do I know?
We have been, well, I mean, we've all gotten the water quality reports from Little Pond, the pre-oyster deployment report and this last summer's data report. And C and I have been going back and forth, and I went through and I don't know if you've all had a time to look at them, but we've gone back and forth and are now sending some recommendations back. So that is in progress.
Good.
And there is some, just an inkling of good news, especially, is that there seems to be some indication that the shellfish, the oysters, are having an impact on phytoplankton density downstream of the thing. So there could be, it looks like things are working more or less as we envisioned, considering it's the first year and small area and this type of thing. But there has been, from their viewpoint, a dent, okay, in the problem, even with this small demonstration. So, so that's been a good thing. There are a lot of minor points from the report in terms of things, but I think that unless you have something else to say, I think that, yeah, I think that basically there's a glimmer coming.
Great.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Any other reports of committee members and staff?
I have a question.
Steve?
I'm not on the PRB working group, but somebody sent me an email, and I don't think we have time tonight to get into the issues of that, but will there be a time for the whole committee to consider that before any further commitments of money are made to PRBs? I think I can make a succinct argument that there's a substantial problem there.
Well, I think it's fair to say that there will be no more money going to PRBs beyond what's already been appropriated and contracted out. We are entitled to one more visit with the consultants on this. Prior to that, this backing and forthing is going on with them, your input and others, so that when they come, they'll know everything that people have been concerned about, and you raised some good ones. So yeah. Hilda and Earl request additional incentive grant. If you could step up to the microphone there.
I have a copy.
Yep, I think I have a copy.
I need one.
Is this the same one?
Yes. Oh, no, I don't know. Is this?
I got a new
Oh.
letterhead
Oh,
just because I feel.
okay. Is it the same, same language? Okay.
Alchemy Farm and Drink Center.
All right.
I have one. I have printed.
No, I haven't.
Coastal Pond Committee?
I'm Earl Barnhart. I'm here representing the Alchemy Farm
You should use the mic.
Neighborhood Association. Can you hear me?
Well, it's
You
the
need-
television.
you
Why
Grab
don't
the
you pick it up?
microphone.
Why don't you just
Okay.
And walk
take it
around with
out?
it or hold it in your hand. There you go.
Okay. My name is Earl Barnhart. I represent the Alchemy Farm Neighborhood Association in this meeting. Normally, thanks for letting us come and present our proposal. Normally, we would propose this to SEA as a proposed set of eco-toilets to be replaced for flush toilets. But we're asking for sort of a new category of location, so it would probably end up here anyway. When we first started to talk about eco-toilet demonstrations, which this is, this committee talked about demonstrating in houses, which we're well on the way for, in businesses, which we have not done much on, in public places, which we've not done much on the beach, which we did not do, and on mobile trailer room, which George Hofelder suggested we travel around and let people try eco-toilets in a trailer. We didn't do that either. So this proposal is a proposal to install 4 eco-toilets to replace 4 flush toilets in a community building. Alchemy Farm, which is a neighborhood association, has a community building with 4 toilets in it, flush toilets. And this same building has the Cape Cod Eco Toilet Center in it. And this same building is often used by the public in various auditoriums and conference rooms and visitors to the Eco Toilet Center. And it's in a community which already has 4 different homes with different kinds of eco toilets there. So we would like to switch this building over to eco toilets so that when people came there, they could see 8 different eco toilets, all operational. And the committee, if they wanted to compare eco toilets, would have a location with 8 different eco toilets types in one place, which the public could see and the committee could test. So that's our proposal, and I have maps of where they would be and what they would be. It would be 4 different kinds of eco toilets installed to replace 4 different existing flush toilets. That's it.
That's it.
Oh, that's it? Oh.
Can I ask a question on the 8? Can you go through, you said there'd be 8 different eco toilets?
Oh, yes, we would like the committee to fund the cost of these toilets. More than $5,000, because our group would not spend more than, wouldn't do it all.
The building is very large, and all the toilets are very far away from each other, and they also being used a lot by the public. So we were hoping, since we're putting in a lot of effort to promote and help the eco toilet demonstration program, we hope that this is another additional way to educate the public and support the demonstration project, which otherwise would not happen. Everybody comes always and says, oh, why don't you have eco toilets in your building? You have this eco toilet center, you're promoting it, but you don't have it in your own building. That's the.
There's none in your building now? And there are 4 toilets in this building? Okay.
And then you have 4 more in buildings nearby.
Well,
Yes, already existing, we have all kinds of different systems.
in private homes.
So it goes to private house.
And we have been
Okay.
using the private homes as on tours, and whenever people request it, say, oh, can I see one in actual use, or how it looks in a house, and then we knock on, either they come to my house, or if they want to see another system, which we often encourage that they do, they go to our neighbors and make arrangements for that. It would be nice if that was more centrally located, but also there will be different ones. That's purposely what we
Okay.
want to do.
See, I wanted to know what the 8 were. These are 4 new ones. We
We
have
have
different
4 new
ones.
ones, and then we have the different ones in the different homes.
But they're
Yeah,
not different, they're
But they're not
phoenixes.
different than the
Well,
Phoenix.
Big Clivis, small Clivis, violet, and 2 phoenixes.
That's true.
And those are being, well,
And then we are planning to change our Big Clivis to a full circle, so that will be an additional system that's there.
Okay. Mr. Fenneman?
got it.
In the neighborhood association house or whatever, in the interest of saving money, could you incorporate a urinal into that?
I would love to.
I mean, wouldn't that get a lot cheaper?
Well, we can't just have a urinal.
No, I understand, but maybe one of them could be a urinal, 'cause
I think when the place, because we have got quite a large auditorium, when it's actually used for events, people use both bathrooms intensely during the breaks, and there's one bathroom in a apartment, so that's the only bathroom that's not used in public. And then there's one very far away from the auditorium that's used on occasion when
Back in the corner.
both bathrooms are full.
John?
Are they all on the same septic system? In
Yes.
other words, for them to be really useful to us, we need to have each one on its own septic system. In other words,
No, not if everyone in the building is on an eco toilet, then the gray water
But we
coming out
can't
will be a
distinct-
combination of all the gray water excluding human waste.
Yeah, you
but it
don't-
wouldn't tell us which of the
No,
But it
different
wouldn't.
systems.
no, it wouldn't.
But that, according to George, is not a problem because this is,
Well, it's like any house, they can
Yes.
have 2 or 3 different ones in a single house.
you don't know which,
If
who's
If
going
you're,
to do
remo-
what
if you're
where.
removing the
well,
human waste
yeah,
component, you're looking at gray water.
You-
Well,
It
it,
doesn't matter
it,
what
it
kind.
won't work for this, correct me, it's fantastic for demonstrating to the public, but I think it's at least one good reason why it won't fit in with the study, and that's that it's not a private house. So the gray water usage, is totally different. People don't take showers at work.
Well, in the
Yeah.
long
You're
run.
accepting businesses.
There's no
Well,
showers there.
wait.
But it's different. Well, let me put it as a question. Would these contribute to the 15 or 62 that you need to satisfy some criteria?
I say yes, because we are including businesses and
Right.
any single septic system in town. We would like to have experience with other things besides private houses.
But they would count as one participant.
If it were in the program, it would count as one participant. That would be, on this page where they show all 9 of them, 1, 2, 3, and 4 would be on one system. The others are already on separate systems.
Right.
They're all on separate.
Are the others able to be included in the project?
I'm working on that. Ours, of course, is already buried because it's already all composting. And I'm working on the other ones. They have each, the other 2 have each 1 flush toilet in the basement that they have to change. All the others are composting. Another one that I have to mention in this common house is that it does have a laundry that a lot of the people are using. So there's a lot of influx of gray water. So it's not like it's just used for offices where people just go to the bathroom once in a while. It is used very much, you can compare it with a regular business order.
Okay,
And
let's go.
the houses that you just mentioned where you've already got an eco toilet, and it's been there for several years, and now you're gonna convert another one, does that fit into your experimental paradigm in terms of
Yeah,
the
We have-
before condition, because you're already taking out some of the nitrogen?
If you remember, we said originally, and when we developed the procedure for paying people, that if it so happened that it cost someone less than $5,000 to convert a toilet in a house that already had an eco toilet in it, so that it could be part of the program, then they would get the entire amount paid for, but they wouldn't get the $5,000. That was what we originally said.
So,
I don't
Okay,
mean the money, I
wait,
mean
no, I,
science.
no, I think
Yes.
there's, wait, Steve,
The
I think
science-
there's a misunderstanding. The houses are completely separate.
Yeah.
They don't
Forget
have
the
them.
houses. That's not.
This building has its own septic system. It has no eco toilets in it now.
He's
Right,
asking
no,
a
we're
different
digressing,
Right.
but Hilda brought up the fact
Yeah.
that there were also these various 4, I think,
Yeah,
houses
Right.
that now are half ecofied,
yeah.
and you want to complete, and I just wanted to make sure that scientifically that would work, because you're not comparing a precondition of no eco toilets to an after condition of all eco toilets.
You
No, I
are
think it makes-
eventually getting the numbers of what the
Okay.
gray water contains, and that's what
Yeah.
you need to know.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
also, you get some precondition because we're not allowed to put our leachate into the ground. So we're putting it into the only way we can put it, if we have any leachate, is in the septic system.
Yeah.
So the septic system will have some nitrogen that we can measure, and then we pump it out, and then after that, we will not have leachate going in there, because it will all be hauled away.
Okay,
So ultimately, it's
let's
the
do
gray
this.
water
Let's
that
do
you
this. We got
need.
Matt and
Yeah.
then Mark and then.
No, I'm all set, I just wanted to.
Okay, and then Ron. Matt, Mark, Ron.
Are these separate villa and does that qualify for the state? It does? Okay. Even it's the all-in-one? Are
Yeah,
these?
the Sunmark, that's already, yeah.
The Sunmar has product acceptance, and the Phoenix has product acceptance.
Okay.
Doesn't separate have it too?
And
Okay.
the separate, and the Eco-John does not, the UD, well, it's a part of our test site.
Okay.
They are
Well,
covered
that
under-
was my only concern, but I do think it would fit into our program.
Okay, Matt, Mark.
I don't understand if you, test the, septic system before installation, you have a benchmark, and then you put these things in. I don't see how you couldn't get valuable data from it.
We have, from the very beginning, we said, if you remember, there are a lot of people in Martha's Vineyard who have a whole group of eco-toilets. We tried to get them interested in doing this, and they said, no way, we won't have anything to do with it. So we haven't persuaded them. But we also had, and there are people also elsewhere in the Cape who already have eco toilets, which could, we anticipated that some of the people we got would be like that. Because we are interested in getting experience with a number of different situations.
Okay.
Actually, George Cornfellow was extremely interested in the Martha's Vineyard project where there's 17 houses on 2 septics.
Right.
And he thought it would be very valuable because you kind of group a bunch together instead of having you don't have to make so many samples, you can kind of an average. Or
Right.
suddenly you have 8 and whatever number of houses on one septic, and what is the average residual nitrogen load or nutrient load in the grey water?
Right.
That's all you're
Yeah.
really after.
Right.
And he really wants that group to
Yes.
be part of it.
Okay,
They
Ron.
really don't.
Yeah, the nitrogen testing is one aspect. I think the more important aspect here, and this is, Billy and I fight over this all the time, is whether these things work in a public environment. And I think we need answers to that question.
That's right.
If you go on the internet, on the farm, we just made a research bathroom, called, it's the wedding bathroom. It has a urinal in it, and it has, Hildy wanted me to put in a urine separation toilet, and the urinal would be one with the trap. I opted for a low flow urinal and did not go with the separation toilet because there's a lot of issues that you read on the internet. And one of them, for example, is in a urine separation toilet in a public environment, a lot of people aren't trained how to use them. You hear that there's problems with the traps in the urinals. Okay, we need to start gaining some information and insight in whether these problems are real, which systems are the worst, which might perform the best in a public environment, what we ultimately might want to put in the schools, what have you. So it's not just the nitrogen, it's just the practical aspects of using these IA systems, eco-toilet systems in a public environment. And this is, we have no tests underway on that, so this would be a way to get information
That's right.
to that extent.
I'm not sure what information you're gonna get. Will people not use the toilet because they don't like the
No,
foreign?
whether a little kid takes a dump in the forward part of the
Okay.
toilet,
But,
is
but,
that a
who,
real problem?
but who's gonna keep track of that for our scientific analysis
Well,
purposes?
in other words, it's a different experimental
You.
setup.
George is
Yeah,
going to
no.
keep track of
Well,
what's
George
going
will not be there watching the little kid
No.
to see.
But he will hear from him. He will hear from the people who want it.
No, I mean, it's very simple because we part owners and we will use the 2 most used bathrooms next to the auditorium and the conference room be urine diversion. That's our plan. And we will have to experience that. There are kids running around and that use the building. There are neighborhood kids that don't belong to the neighborhood that use the building. There are friends of the neighbors' kids, and then there's just all the people that are coming for events.
As for reporting problems, Sia, isn't it true that the people in a normal house who switch to eco toilets have to report anything unusual in some kind of periodic
Every time
report
George
to the
goes there.
town?
Well, and I've been, I obviously, as part of the Eco Toilet Incentive Program, check in with people probably pretty much monthly to make sure, learn what's going on, see if anything's been happening, and things have been happening, they contact me. So I think the idea would be that this would be something that I would oversee. I mean, I'd oversee somebody, me, whoever it is, would have to oversee the functionality to
Right.
document it.
Virginia, then that?
I have a couple questions. If this proposal had come in saying we want to put eco-toilets throughout our building, and we want to be part of the program and we just want 5,000, we wouldn't be discussing it here
No, we
today,
wouldn't.
right?
No.
It would just be a routine application.
That's right.
Okay, what the difference is that you're asking for 10,000. You're asking for,
20.
20.
oh, you're asking for 20.
Well, whatever the 4 might be under, it could be 15, could be 16, depends how much the installation costs. We know what the equipment costs, but we don't know what the installation will cost, because every installation is different.
Yeah.
There's no standard, like if I put this toilet in, it will cost that much.
Okay.
Not yet.
You're actually going to my next question. So you're not actually asking for a subsidy times 2 or times 4. you're asking that the entire cost, whatever it may be, that's your request. I'm just trying to be clear. You're not intending to put any funding into this. You're asking, will this incentive program fund an entire installation to the structure, whatever the cost may be?
I would say it would probably be between 15 and 20. So
Yeah, but I asked
But
her
the
yes or no
the answer is
question.
yes.
The answer is yes.
Right, so
All
you're,
right.
you're
Although
basically
I
asking
think
for
it would be
a different deal than we're offering everybody else, which is we offer them 5,000 and they pay the rest. Your deal is we pay it all.
Well,
and that's because of the fact that it's a tool to the demonstration program as a way to educate the public and to get experience that we
Okay.
don't have yet.
Okay, Matt?
I think it up to a maximum of $5,000 per toilet. So we could say $20,000 maximum
It's not
for the 4 toilets.
It's not per toilet, it's per installation.
Well,
Say
per
$20,000 for the
installation.
installation.
That's the current
Our
program. His proposal.
incentive is $5,000 per installation.
Yeah.
And if that's the maximum, I think I would move that we vote to have this to provide that money, based on what their actual expenses are.
Well, we can't take it up tonight because it's not listed as something we vote on tonight, and Ron's been very clear about how we operate in that regard. So it'll have to come up at another meeting, but it's a good night to talk about it and get all the details on the table. John?
Can I just ask, you have your map here, the 2 toilets that are next to the auditorium, 1 and 2,
Yeah.
at the moment, when we look at those 1 and 2, they're composting toilets, they're not urine diversion toilets.
And you're in diversion
They're-
on the west side.
They're composting toilets that divert urine.
It says so, install urine diverting separated.
The UD, they are urine diverting, but they're urine diverting
But they're
composting.
small composting toilets that are on the floor.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure. Steve?
So the other side of the cost equation is how does this fit into the eco toilet part of the budget? Have you guys
We have-
already allocated that, or
Yeah.
where are you gonna get the money?
We have plenty of incentive, right, at this time?
Well, no, we don't. So there are a couple of sort of logistical just points that, since we're having a discussion on it. So one was procedurally, the Eco Toilet Incentive Program, Demo Group 1, has been approved by the Board of Selectmen and by the Town Manager's Office. And he was very clear that is $5,000 plus the cost of a pump out. So that $80,000, which is the Eco Toilet Demo Group 1, is no more than $5,000, all the paperwork, all the things that have been approved by Town Council and everything. So we can't take a bigger chunk out of that unless we go to the Board of Selectmen. Or go to the Board of Selectmen, because they've already authorized the way of funding the Eco Toilet Incentive Program. So there's,
For the first 15.
for the first 15, it's called Eco Toilet Incentive Program Demonstration Group 1. And all the forms and the paperwork and what the Board of Selectmen have approved and what the town manager has seen, I mean, just for transparency, it has to be up to $5,000 plus up to $300 for the cost of a pump out, and that is what it is. So the committee, if they voted to do this, would have to either go to the Board of Selectmen and change that, and we'd have a new form, and because there has to be a procedural process for getting the money, for paying, and having the accounting department know what to do. The other possibility is to look at the budget and ask for up to the cost of this installation, up to $20,000, to be a new allocation. So I'm giving you your options. I'm not,
And that would still have to go to the Board of
and
Selectmen.
that would also have to go to the Board of Selectmen, because what will happen, because I've been through this, is there has to be a form that they fill out and a promissory note and rescinding of the promissory note, and then the financial director has to get it, and the town manager has to. It's a contract, and then they have to, and then we have to figure out, are we giving it as a payment to an individual with a W-9, or is it going to a group, and how does that payment happen? But it has to go through the Board of Selectmen.
I might say that we are going to
I did not
relatively
take one, by the
soon,
way.
we hope,
Huh?
go to selectmen for
I did not
another
take the incentive.
tranche of money to
But you're in the
I'm
program.
glad I
get
didn't.
You're
part
in the
two of the
program, right?
program.
You mean once
Not
you-
gonna stop at
Monitoring
15.
Once you've hit your 15.
Once we
want
know
to
we
do
got
that.
to 15.
Once we get 15,
Yeah,
and I'm
but-
looking for 4 more.
Right, okay, but, well, we
All I
might,
need is
we might
George
even have.
Hoyfelder looking at my,
You're up to 11.
We're not, yes, we
We're up
are,
to
we're up to
11.
11. No
And I
stone
think there's a
unturned.
couple more that are coming in. Anyway, but we're going to go to eventually to the selectmen and ask for more money. And that would be the time when we would go, and if we were going to do this, and we would go and this is there's another aspect of it. If we were doing this as if this were a town building or something like that, it would be completely paid for. If this, in other words, out of not the money that we've had for the eco toilets system, but for the other $150,000 or so, which was for demonstrations, public demonstrations. If this were approved under that
Municipal.
category,
It was
municipal.
the
If
municipal
it were
installations.
if it were approvable under that category, it
Right.
would be paid for.
Okay, but it's not municipal.
It's not municipal, and that would be a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
There's one other point I just wanted to bring up in terms of the logistics of this. So the first one was how the financing would work. And the other is that the Sunmar has product acceptance and the Phoenix has product acceptance. And the other ones are under the state variance. However, I have to make sure, and I haven't done that level of detail, that we can use the test site status for public buildings. I mean, that's something that I need to do, so I'd need to do that research if the board wants me to. In other words, we got
From the state plumbing board?
from
or
the
who do you
state
have?
plumbing board, they
Okay.
gave us, so I would have to go back into the paperwork because they were very specific about what we could and couldn't do with certain things.
Mhm.
For example, because of this question, they didn't want certain installations going in certain kinds of buildings because they wanted us to test them in homes because that was they didn't want
A
them
protected
in
environment.
a protected environment. So I have to go look at that decision and make sure
Right.
that we can do all of these things. And so I'd want to be able to advise the committee that they can put these things in these places. As far as the apartment, they can do anything. Because the apartment is a private
Right.
dwelling.
Right.
Yeah,
But as
but
far as these public places,
all the toilets are on the same septic system.
that doesn't, we're not talking
Oh.
about the septic system, we're talking about the plumbing installation.
I was just talking about monitoring. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm talking about the state plumbing board and the plumbing
Oh,
permit
okay,
that they're
okay.
gonna have
Oh,
to
okay,
pull.
okay.
So I just, I didn't.
As we've all discovered, plumbing is very complicated stuff.
Plumbing
And very expensive.
And
permitting,
very expensive stuff.
Yeah.
permitting plumbing
That's
is,
why some of these are not permanent because it might cost $25,000 to $50,000 to get.
Yeah.
So they don't
Yeah.
put on business.
Sure. Steve?
See, and anyone else on the Eco Toilet Working Group, I'm sure you looked into, a long time ago, putting sun in public buildings,
We
like
did.
town hall or a school.
yes, we did.
Aside from what you just mentioned, what were the reasons you decided not to?
we did not decide not to
Oh,
do
you
it.
haven't.
We haven't because there isn't a place that has come up,
We
except for
haven't,
the fire station,
I
I
have
think.
reviewed 3 municipal locations, and there were 3 reasons why they weren't installed. The fire station, they didn't want to because
Right.
of the way it was used. The Old Silver Beach bathhouse, if they did any plumbing changes, they were gonna trigger ADA compliance. And there was no money to turn that entire, to change that
What
entire.
an excuse not to do
It
ADA.
wasn't an excuse, it's a reality.
Yeah.
It's a very
It's
sober
shameful.
reality that the town would then be facing a huge construction project to make that whole facility ADA compliant if they put in any kind of fixtures
What-
that were approvable.
What was the problem with the fire station?
It's one person, they're there
Yeah.
seasonally,
Mhm.
and they wanted to be able to have the flexibility to close the facility down.
Why you can't?
Well, now that that's not happening,
Put it-
well, maybe we
that's-
could revisit them.
Yeah.
But the,
Yeah, you can.
The people that actually use the facility were not interested. So that's why.
What about the West, that's different
You
than
ta-
saying that you can't close it up.
Well, they had a number of.
We're talking about the fire department.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
fire,
the West Falmouth Fire
In- in-
Station.
The-
West Falmouth.
the firemen who were assigned there didn't want it.
West Falmouth.
I understand.
Yeah.
One guy,
Um,
one station.
They didn't think that it made, they didn't think, well, they didn't, in their heads, we had several discussions, and in the same way that I don't tell people who don't want to put it in their house that they have to do it, I wasn't in a position to tell anybody else that they had to do it.
What about the town hall?
But that installation would be so easy, and the one that I met over there, they said, absolutely, that would be the greatest thing, that's all I heard, they said, if we can deal with the gray water, because they wash their fire engines.
And their hands, so they had to put in a Title V system, and that's what they put in.
Oh,
They had to do it anyway because you had to have a leach field, even if you put in the composting toilet, because they have gray water. It wasn't gonna, they were interested initially at 30,000 feet because they thought it was gonna save them money. When they realized they still had to do all of the standard Title V because of the gray water, then they saw this as an additional expense. And they didn't see that they wanted to have the additional expense, even though we could have given them the $5,000.
Yeah, that's the easy one, just
They-
one
they-
bathroom and a
yeah,
basement.
Right.
yeah, one toilet.
But it's a
I was
$10,000
disappointed.
installation anyway.
I was disappointed in their decision, but
But that's why they didn't want to spend any extra money. I mean, I think you also have to understand that they
Yeah.
were under.
a bargain on that from Maury Hawks?
And then,
On the installation?
the installation in West Falmouth, I thought I heard that comment made when they were talking about closing the
It
station.
was North Falmouth.
Apparently not
I think.
enough of a bargain.
Bargains.
Yeah, I thought she was.
Right, so we have, and I looked very carefully, and I sat down for, I mean, hours and hours and hours of trying to work through it, and then they make their decisions, and
Yeah, I see-
especially
I
with
see
the,
that.
with the old Silver Beach bathhouse. I mean, we spent a long time, this was going back 2 years now, last, summer before last,
Mm.
that the specter of ADA compliance was very expensive.
It's also simple statistics. You've got 20,000 houses in Falmouth. You guys have broken your backs to try to get people to sign up. You're barely getting 15. If you
We
pick
didn't,
one at random,
nobody's
you
broken
get
their
the fire
back.
hydrant. Well, you've tried hard.
No, we haven't tried hard.
Well,
I disagree with
that.
that.
Yeah,
I think they know the end of the
okay.
If you pick one at random, the odds of them saying yes are low.
All right.
Once the vector of the tax bill and everything comes down, it'll be a selling tool.
Yeah.
You know, once this thing goes through and they realize we're spending all these tens of millions of dollars, I think you're gonna find that people will become more interested rapidly. That's just my feeling, but.
Well, we'll see. Ron?
Just 2 points regarding the Alchemy Common House, is that the Eco Toilet Center, if you're talking about the cost, helping them with the money to put that in, the rental fee for that Eco Toilet Center, $500 a month, is being paid by a foundation. So the town is getting a deal, in that, and all the work that they put in. So it's to me, that needs to be taken into account when this committee decides whether in fact it should recommend to the selectmen
That's a
that
good
money
point.
go towards this Eco Toilet Center project. The other thing that to me is the biggest problem we have across the board with all these alternatives is they're all new concepts, and the existing regulatory scheme has to be changed. Okay, and that's why the Article 42 argument, I wasn't there because I had a broken leg, so I couldn't fight you. But the fact is, to me, it was, we need to get people to start thinking that there has to be changes. And there has to be changes in the plumbing code in this state. There has to be changes in the way we manage aquaculture if we're gonna end up using oysters to clean. There's a whole slew of regulatory changes that are gonna be the obstacles to all the alternatives. We need to identify those and start, that's the hardest battle, and start working to overcome those obstacles. I mean, just a little side thing, but it's very important because it is about wastewater. There's the new Federal Food Safety and Modernization Act. The FDA put out their proposed rules, and that had to be responded to in November. They finally said, we're going back to the drawing board. But one of them, for example, would have required us to put sanitizer in our wash water for the vegetables. And they didn't see any problem with that, the FDA. Of course, there's no way to monitor it nor anything else. But the more important thing, in Massachusetts, you put any additive into your wash water, that becomes industrial wastewater. Okay, industrial wastewater water can no longer go to a septic system. It has to go to a double wall tank with 2
I guess you have to hit it again.
and a pump out and the whole 9 yards. So there's, it goes on and on. Other states allow you to use portable hand washing sinks, not Massachusetts.
No.
It has to be hard plumbed. If it's hard plumbed, it has to go to a Title V system. So there's the aquaculture. We're right now in a regime where we have to have lease sites to have aquaculture. The idea of the municipal, if we find that we want to raise oysters in the estuaries for the purposes of cleaning the estuary, it's a different public purpose, and want to be able to sell it, then you might want to license people to grow the oysters,
Right.
and that's a whole new
Right.
regime. So I think we need to be taking on some of these issues and putting this in a public building and taking on the plumbing board and educating people on what changes are necessary is going to be the biggest battle we have.
No question. It's huge. Any other information or questions about the Green Center proposal before us tonight? Okay, thank you very much.
That reminds me of one change on here. The first time we sent this proposal out, we had the Green Center be the applicant.
Yes.
Then we realized that the property owner is the Alchemy Farm Neighborhood Association, so they are the applicant.
Different one.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Well, and that changes actually because it's a neighborhood association.
Yeah.
It makes it residential.
Okay, well, we're getting
So-
there. Good enough. We have a handout, the Harwich report.
Yep.
The only reason this is being handed out is it's a committee just like ours
Okay.
in Harwich that went through a whole lot of the same issues that we went through, and these are their conclusions, and they wrote them up in English, so I thought it would be fun to read them. So, some of them are clearly beyond anything we would contemplate in this town, but they're all sort of informative, and they're smart people down there, so I thought it was worth everybody's while to at least see what they came up with.
Okay, thanks.
They're basically doing sewers?
Well, how to finance sewers or wastewater and such, or anything else for that matter.
Do they have a sewer in Harwich?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
No. or an approved CWMP.
Right, okay.
All right, if there's any further business to come before the committee, I don't believe there is. We'd have discussion and vote on the minutes of the prior meeting. Everybody received them in their emails? Did we have any comments or anything?
Matt said they were fine.
Matt said they were fine. Yeah, you took them, actually.
Right.
So anyone who doesn't think they were fine can take the minutes at the next meeting.
Oh.
They were brief and they were good.
I had some changes.
So
Oh,
Matt,
look.
I sent in some,
We have changes.
I sent in some changes, and to you, I think.
Oh, God.
yes, I didn't
Did
get
you
them.
see them?
No,
Okay.
no, remember
Oh,
you're supposed to get all the changes.
you're right.
Yeah, I sent them in to you.
All right.
Um,
I'll blame the blizzard. I didn't do anything with them, but
I
can you?
I think I have two, there were two, and.
Are they substantive changes?
can you
or
bring
No,
them
they
up?
aren't, well, one of them is worth doing, I think.
Okay, yeah, let's hear it.
Virginia, this is on the last page, I believe. All right, let me see for sure it's on the last page.
Okay, we'll just.
Next to the last page, I think. Virginia Valley Ella stated that the minutes will reflect that there is no meeting on 12/19. General agreement. Sia Carpus noted that she will not be present for the meeting, WQMC meeting on January 2nd. That's irrelevant now because
Right.
we didn't have one.
Right.
Turned out not to be true anyway.
Yeah.
That's right. I could have been here, but
Okay.
we didn't have it.
None of us were there. Okay, what else you got?
3 paragraphs down or 4 paragraphs down, when Monroe reported that, and I deleted, he will be meeting with Todd and John Bologna of Coastal Engineering to brief them on what Falmouth and the WQMC are doing on December 20th. He will also be meeting with one of the Orleans selectmen if he is available on that day. I didn't, but that's,
So that's just an additional piece of information.
yeah.
So what,
When Monroe reported, at the request of Todd Palmatier, that he would be meeting with Todd and John Bologna. And there, I eliminated, he might also meet with Todd Palmatier and Orleans Selectmen. Todd was not an Orleans Selectman.
I see, okay.
So that's worth, it's
wait,
worth making
right.
that.
I move the minutes with the changes suggested.
okay, that's a motion. Is there a second? Second, any further discussion? Maybe you could give these to Carol, so.
Okay.
No,
Oh, give them to
you give
Virginia.
them to me,
All right.
okay? And I will correct it, and Carol, I'll send it to you, and then you
Okay.
do what you normally do with the minutes.
Perfect.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and any further discussion?
I just have a question. What happens now with the proposal? Where
Okay, well, we'll take it under advisement and gather some information that we need to gather based on the conversation we heard from the members and bring it back at a future meeting for action. Okay, all in favor of the motion to accept the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Matt, do you have a motion for us?
Move adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. 10 o'clock.